Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated al-Walid bin Izar. I heard Abi Amr ash-Shabani saying, the owner of this house. He pointed to Abdullah's house, said, I asked the Prophet which deed is loved most by Allah. He replied, to offer prayers at their early, very first, stated times. Abdullah asked, what is the next, in goodness? The Prophet said, to be good and dutiful to one's parents. Abdullah asked, what is the next, in goodness? The Prophet said, to participate in jihad for Allah's cause. Abdullah added, the Prophet narrated to me these three things, and if I had asked more, he would have told me more. Sahih al-Bukhari 5970 Reference 78 Hadith 1. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Abu Huraira. A man came to Allah's Messenger and said, O Allah's Messenger, who is more entitled to be treated with the best companionship by me? The Prophet said, your mother. The man said, who is next? The Prophet said, your mother. The man further said, who is next? The Prophet said, your mother. The man asked for the fourth time, who is next? The Prophet said, your father. Sahih al-Bukhari 5971 Reference 78 Hadith 2. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Abdullah bin Amr. A man said to the Prophet, shall I participate in jihad? The Prophet said, are your parents living? The man said, yes. The Prophet said, do jihad for their benefit. Sahih al-Bukhari 5972 Reference 78 Hadith 3. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Abdullah bin Amr. Allah's Messenger said, it is one of the greatest sins that a man should curse his parents. It was asked by the people, O Allah's Messenger, how does a man curse his parents? The Prophet said, the man abuses the father of another man and the latter abuses the father of the former and abuses his mother. Sahih al-Bukhari 5973 Reference 78 Hadith 4. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Ibn Umar. Allah's Messenger said, while three persons were traveling, they were overtaken by rain and they took shelter in a cave in a mountain. A big rock fell from the mountain over the mouth of the cave and blocked it. They said to each other, think of such good, righteous deeds which you did for Allah's sake only, and invoke Allah by giving reference to those deeds so that Allah may relieve you from your difficulty. One of them said, O Allah, I had my parents who were very old and I had small children for whose sake I used to work as a shepherd. When I returned to them at night and milked the sheep, I used to start giving the milk to my parents first before giving to my children. And one day I went far away in search of a grazing place for my sheep, and didn't return home till late at night and found that my parents had slept. I milked my livestock, as usual, and brought the milk vessel and stood at their heads, and I disliked to wake them up from their sleep. And I also Sahih al-Bukhari 5974 Reference 78 Hadith 5. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Disliked to give the milk to my children before my parents, though my children were crying from hunger at my feet. So this state of mine and theirs continued till the day dawned. O Allah, if you considered that I had done that only for seeking your pleasure, then please let there be an opening through which we can see the sky. So Allah made for them an opening through which they could see the sky. Then the second person said, O Allah, I had a she-cousin whom I loved as much as a passionate man love a woman. I tried to seduce her but she refused till I paid her 100 dinars, so I worked hard till I collected 100 dinars and went to her with that, but when I sat in between her legs, to have sexual intercourse with her, she said, "O Allah's slave, be afraid of Allah. Do not deflower me except legally, by marriage contract. So I left her, O Allah. If you considered that I had done that only for seeking your pleasure, then please let the rock move a little to have a wider opening." Sahih al-Bukhari 5974 reference 78 Hadith 5. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. So Allah shifted that rock to make the opening wider for them. And the last, third, person said, "O Allah, I employed a laborer for wages equal to a farak, a certain measure, of rice, and when he had finished his job he demanded his wages, but when I presented his due to him, he gave it up and refused to take it. Then I kept on sowing that rice for him, several times, till managed to buy with the price of the yield some cows and their shepherd. Later on the laborer came to me and said, O Allah's slave, be afraid, O Allah, and do not be unjust to me and give me my due. I said to him, Go and take those cows and their shepherd. So he took them and went away. So, O Allah, if you considered that I had done that for seeking your pleasure, then please remove the remaining part of the rock. And so Allah released them from their difficulty. Sahih al-Bukhari 5974 reference 78 Hadith 5. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated al-Mughira. The Prophet said, Allah has forbidden you 1. To be undutiful to your mothers. 2. To withhold what you should give. Or 3. Demand what you do not deserve. And 4. To bury your daughters alive. And Allah has disliked that a. You talk too much about others, b. Ask too many questions in religion, or c. Waste your property. Sahih al-Bukhari 5975 reference 78 Hadith 6. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Abu Bakr. Allah's Messenger said thrice, Shall I not inform you of the biggest of the great sins? We said, Yes, O Allah's Messenger. He said, To join partners in worship with Allah. To be undutiful to one's parents. The Prophet sat up after he had been reclining and added, And I warn you against giving forged statement and a false witness. I warn you against giving a forged statement and a false witness. The Prophet kept on saying that warning till we thought that he would not stop. Sahih al-Bukhari 5976 reference 78 Hadith 7. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Anas bin Malik. Allah's Messenger mentioned the greatest sins, or he was asked about the greatest sins. He said, To join partners in worship with Allah, to kill a soul which Allah has forbidden to kill, and to be undutiful or unkind to one's parents. The Prophet added, Shall I inform you of the biggest of the great sins? That is the forged statement or the false witness. Shu'bah, the sub-narrator, states that most probably the Prophet said, the false witness. Sahih al-Bukhari 5977 reference 78 Hadith 8. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Asma bint Abu Bakr. My mother came to me, hoping for my favor, during the lifetime of the Prophet. I asked the Prophet, May I treat her kindly? He replied, Yes. Ibn Uyayna said, Then Allah revealed, Allah forbids you not with regards to those who fought not against you because of religion, and drove you not out from your homes, that you should show them kindness and deal justly with them. 60.8. Sahih al-Bukhari 5978 reference 78 Hadith 9. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Asma. My mother, who was a mushrika, pagan, etc., came with her father during the period of peace pact between the Muslims and the Quraysh infidels. I went to seek the advice of the Prophet saying, my mother has arrived and she is hoping for my favor. The Prophet said, yes, be good to your mother. Sahih al-Bukhari 5979 reference 78 Hadith 10. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Sufyan, that Heraclius sent for him and said, what did he, that is the Prophet, order you? I replied, he orders us to offer prayers, to give alms, to be chaste, and to keep good relations with our relatives. Sahih al-Bukhari 5980 reference 78 Hadith 11. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Umar, my father, seeing a silken cloak being sold, said, O Allah's Messenger, buy this and wear it on Fridays and when the foreign delegates pay a visit to you. He said, this is worn only by that person who will have no share in the hereafter. Later a few silken cloaks were given to the Prophet as a gift, and he sent one of those cloaks to Umar. Umar said, to the Prophet, how can I wear it while you have said about it what you said? The Prophet said, I did not give it to you to wear but to sell or to give to someone else to wear. So Umar sent it to his pagan brother who was from the inhabitants of Mecca before he, Umar's brother, embraced Islam. Sahih al-Bukhari 5981 reference 78 Hadith 12. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, it was said, O Allah's Messenger, inform me of a deed which will make me enter paradise, continues through a different chain in the next hadith. Sahih al-Bukhari 5982 reference 78 Hadith 13. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, a man said, O Allah's Messenger, inform me of a deed which will make me enter paradise. The people said, what is the matter with him? What is the matter with him? Allah's Messenger said, he has something to ask, what he needs greatly. The Prophet said to him, in order to enter paradise, you should worship Allah and join none in worship with him. You should offer prayers perfectly, give obligatory charity, zakat, and keep good relations with your kith and kin. He then said, leave it. The sub-narrator said, it seems that the Prophet was riding his she-camel. Sahih al-Bukhari 5983 reference 78 Hadith 14. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Jubair bin Mut'im, that he heard the Prophet saying, the person who severs the bond of kinship will not enter paradise. Sahih al-Bukhari 5984 reference 78 Hadith 15. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah, I heard Allah's Messenger saying, whoever is pleased that he be granted more wealth and that his lease of life be prolonged, then he should keep good relations with his kith and kin. Sahih al-Bukhari 5985 reference 78 Hadith 16. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik, Allah's Apostle said, whoever loves that he be granted more wealth and that his lease of life be prolonged, then he should keep good relations with his kith and kin. Sahih al-Bukhari 5986 reference 78 Hadith 17. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah, the Prophet said, Allah created the creations, and when he finished from his creations, Ar-Ram that is, womb said, O Allah, at this place I seek refuge with you from all those who sever me. That is, sever the ties of kith and kin. Allah said, yes, won't you be pleased that I will keep good relations with the one who will keep good relations with you, and I will sever the relation with the one who will sever the relations with you. It said, Yes, O my Lord. Allah said, Then that is for you. Allah's Messenger added, Read, in the Quran, if you wish, the statement of Allah. Would you then, if you were given the authority, do mischief in the land and sever your ties of kinship? 47.22 Sahih al-Bukhari 5987 Reference 78 Hadith 18 Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, The word ar-Ram, womb, derives its name from ar-Rahman. That is, one of the names of Allah, and Allah said, I will keep good relation with the one who will keep good relation with you, womb that is kith and kin, and sever the relation with him who will sever the relation with you, womb, that is kith and kin. Sahih al-Bukhari 5988 Reference 78 Hadith 19 Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha sad face. The wife of the Prophet said, The word ar-Ram, womb, derives its name from ar-Rahman, that is Allah. So whosoever keeps good relations with it, womb that is kith and kin, Allah will keep good relations with him, and whosoever will sever it, that is severs his bonds of kith and kin, Allah too will sever his relations with him. Sahih al-Bukhari 5989 Reference 78 Hadith 20 Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Amr bin al-As. I heard the Prophet saying openly not secretly, the family of Abu so and so, that is Talib, are not among my protectors. Amr said that there was a blank space, 1, in the book of Muhammad peace be upon him bin Ya'far. He added, My protector is Allah and the righteous believing people. Amr bin al-As added, I heard the Prophet saying, but they, that family, have kinship, Ram, with me and I will be good and dutiful to them. Sahih al-Bukhari 5990 Reference 78 Hadith 21 Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abdullah bin Amr. The Prophet said, Al-Wasil is not the one who recompenses the good done to him by his relatives, but Al-Wasil is the one who keeps good relations with those relatives who had severed the bond of kinship with him. Sahih al-Bukhari 5991 Reference 78 Hadith 22 Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Hakim bin Hizam, that he said, O Allah's Messenger, what do you think about my good deeds which I used to do during the period of ignorance, before embracing Islam? Like keeping good relations with my kith and kin, manumitting of slaves and giving alms etc. Shall I receive the reward for that? Allah's Messenger said, You have embraced Islam with all those good deeds which you did. Sahih al-Bukhari 5992 Reference 78 Hadith 23 Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Sa'id. Khalid bin Sa'id said, I came to Allah's Messenger along with my father and I was wearing a yellow shirt. Allah's Messenger said, Sana Sana. Abdullah, the sub-narrator said, it means, nice, nice. In the Ethiopian language, Khalid added, then I started playing with the seal of prophethood. My father admonished me, but Allah's Messenger said, to my father, leave her. Allah's Messenger, then addressing me, said, may you live so long that your dress gets worn out, and you will mend it many times, and then wear another till it gets worn out. That is, may Allah prolong your life. The sub-narrator, Abdullah aid, that garment, which she was wearing remained usable for a long period. Sahih al-Bukhari 5993 Reference 78 Hadith 24 Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Abi Nam. I was present when a man asked Ibn Umar about the blood of mosquitoes. Ibn Umar said, "From where are you?" The man replied, "From Iraq." Ibn Umar said, "Look at that. He is asking me about the blood of mosquitoes while they, the Iraqis, have killed the grandson of the Prophet. I have heard the Prophet saying, they, Hassan and Husayn, are my two sweet-smelling flowers in this world." Sahih al-Bukhari 5994 Reference 78 Hadith 25. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha Sad Face. The wife of the Prophet. A lady along with her two daughters came to me asking me for some alms, but she found nothing with me except one date which I gave to her, and she divided it between her two daughters, and then she got up and went away. Then the Prophet came in and I informed him about this story. He said, "Whoever is in charge of, put to test by, these daughters and treats them generously, then they will act as a shield for him from the hell fire." Sahih al-Bukhari 5995 Reference 78 Hadith 26. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Qatada. The Prophet came out towards us, while carrying Umama, the daughter of Abi al-As, his granddaughter, over his shoulder. He prayed, and when he wanted to bow, he put her down, and when he stood up, he lifted her up. Sahih al-Bukhari 5996 Reference 78 Hadith 27. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger kissed al-Hasan bin Ali while al-Aqra bin Habis at Tamim was sitting beside him. Al-Aqra said, "I have 10 children and I have never kissed any one of them." Allah's Messenger cast a look at him and said, "Whoever is not merciful to others will not be treated mercifully." Sahih al-Bukhari 5997 Reference 78 Hadith 28. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. A Bedouin came to the Prophet and said, "You people kiss the boys. We don't kiss them." The Prophet said, "I cannot put mercy in your heart after Allah has taken it away from it." Sahih al-Bukhari 5998 Reference 78 Hadith 29. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Umar bin al-Khattab. Some Sabi, that is war prisoners, children and women only, were brought before the Prophet, and behold, a woman amongst them was milking her breasts to feed, and whenever she found a child amongst the captives, she took it over her chest and nursed it. She had lost her child, but later she found him. The Prophet said to us, "Do you think that this lady can throw her son in the fire?" We replied, "No, if she has the power not to throw it in the fire." The Prophet then said, "Allah is more merciful to his slaves than this lady to her son." Sahih al-Bukhari 5999 Reference 78 Hadith 30. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. I heard Allah's Messenger saying, "Allah divided mercy into 100 parts. He kept 99 parts with him and sent down one part to the earth, and because of that, it's one single part. His creations are merciful to each other, so that even the mare lifts up its hoofs away from its baby animal, lest it should trample on it." Sahih al-Bukhari 6000 Reference 78 Hadith 31. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abdullah. I said, "O Allah's Messenger, which sin is the greatest?" He said, "To set up a rival unto Allah, though He alone created you." I said, "What next?" He said, "To kill your son lest he should share your food with you." I further asked, "What next?" He said, to commit illegal sexual intercourse with the wife of your neighbor. And then Allah revealed as proof of the statement of the Prophet, those who invoke not with Allah any other God, to end of verse. 25.68 Sahih al-Bukhari 6001 reference 78 Hadith 32. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. The Prophet took a child in his lap for tonic. That is, he chewed a date in his mouth and put its juice in the mouth of the child. The child urinated on him, so he asked for water and poured it over the place of the urine. Sahih al-Bukhari 6002 reference 78 Hadith 33. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Usama bin Zayd. Allah's Messenger used to put me on one of his thighs and put Al-Hasan bin Ali on his other thigh, and then embrace us and say, O Allah, please be merciful to them, as I am merciful to them. Sahih al-Bukhari 6003 reference 78 Hadith 34. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. I never felt so jealous of any woman as I did of Khadijah, though she had died 3 years before the Prophet married me, and that was because I heard him mentioning her too often, and because his Lord had ordered him to give her the glad tidings that she would have a palace in paradise, made of kasab, and because he used to slaughter a sheep and distribute its meat among her friends. Sahih al-Bukhari 6004 reference 78 Hadith 35. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Sahl bin Sa'di. The Prophet said, I and the person who looks after an orphan and provides for him, will be in paradise like this, putting his index and middle fingers together. Sahih al-Bukhari 6005 reference 78 Hadith 36. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Safwan bin Salim. The Prophet said the one who looks after and works for a widow and for a poor person, is like a warrior fighting for Allah's cause, or like a person who fasts during the day and prays all the night. Narrated Abu Huraira that the Prophet said as above. Sahih al-Bukhari 6006 reference 78 Hadith 37. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, the one who looks after and works for a widow and for a poor person is like a warrior fighting for Allah's cause. The narrator Al-Kanabi is not sure whether he also said like the one who prays all the night without slackness and fasts continuously and never breaks his fast. Sahih al-Bukhari 6007 reference 78 Hadith 38. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Sulayman and Malik bin Huwairith. We came to the Prophet and we were a few young men of approximately equal age and stayed with him for 20 nights. Then he thought that we were anxious for our families, and he asked us whom we had left behind to look after our families, and we told him. He was kind-hearted and merciful, so he said, return to your families and teach them religious knowledge, and order them to do good deeds, and offer your prayers in the way you saw me offering my prayers, and when the stated time for the prayer becomes due, then one of you should pronounce its call, that is the Adhan, and the eldest of you should lead you in prayer. Sahih al-Bukhari 6008 reference 78 Hadith 39. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, while a man was walking on a road, he became very thirsty. Then he came across a well, got down into it, drank of its water, and then came out. Meanwhile he saw a dog panting and licking mud because of excessive thirst. The man said to himself, this dog is suffering from the same state of thirst as I did. So he went down the well, again, and filled his shoe with water, and held it in his mouth and watered the dog. Allah thanked him for that deed and forgave him. The people asked, "O Allah's Messenger, is there a reward for us in serving the animals?" He said, "Yes, there is a reward for serving any animate, living being." Sahih al-Bukhari 6009 reference 78 Hadith 40. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger stood up for the prayer and we too stood up along with him. Then a Bedouin shouted while offering prayer, "O Allah, bestow your mercy on me and Muhammad, peace be upon him only, and do not bestow it on anybody else along with us." When the Prophet had finished his prayer with Taslim, he said to the Bedouin, "You have limited, narrowed, a very vast thing," meaning Allah's mercy. Sahih al-Bukhari 6010 reference 78 Hadith 41. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated An-Nu'man bin Bashir. Allah's Messenger said, "You see the believers as regards their being merciful among themselves and showing love among themselves and being kind, resembling one body, so that, if any part of the body is not well, then the whole body shares the sleeplessness, insomnia, and fever with it." Sahih al-Bukhari 6011 reference 78 Hadith 42. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. The Prophet said, "If any Muslim plants any plant and a human being or an animal eats of it, he will be rewarded as if he had given that much in charity." Sahih al-Bukhari 6012 reference 78 Hadith 43. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Jarir bin Abdullah. The Prophet said, "He who is not merciful to others, will not be treated mercifully." Sahih al-Bukhari 6013 reference 78 Hadith 44. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. The Prophet said, "Gabriel continued to recommend me about treating the neighbors kindly and politely, so much so that I thought he would order me to make them as my heirs." Sahih al-Bukhari 6014 reference 78 Hadith 45. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrates Ibn Umar. Allah Apostle said, "Gabriel kept on recommending me about treating the neighbors in a kind and polite manner, so much so that I thought that he would order me to make them my heirs." Sahih al-Bukhari 6015 reference 78 Hadith 46. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Shurayh. The Prophet said, "By Allah, he does not believe. By Allah, he does not believe. By Allah, he does not believe." It was said, "Who is that, O Allah's Messenger?" He said, "That person whose neighbor does not feel safe from his evil." Sahih al-Bukhari 6016 reference 78 Hadith 47. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet used to say, "O Muslim ladies, a neighboress should not look down upon the present of her neighboress, even it were the hooves of a sheep." Sahih al-Bukhari 6017 reference 78 Hadith 48. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, "Anybody who believes in Allah and the Last Day should not harm his neighbor, and anybody who believes in Allah and the Last Day should entertain his guest generously, and anybody who believes in Allah and the Last Day should talk what is good or keep quiet. That is, abstain from all kinds of evil and dirty talk." Sahih al-Bukhari 6018 reference 78 Hadith 49. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Shurayh al-Adawi. My ears heard and my eyes saw the Prophet when he spoke, anybody who believes in Allah and the last day, should serve his neighbor generously, and anybody who believes in Allah and the last day should serve his guest generously by giving him his reward. It was asked, what is his reward, O Allah's Messenger? He said, to be entertained generously, for a day and a night with high quality of food, and the guest has the right to be entertained for 3 days, with ordinary food, and if he stays longer, what he will be provided with will be regarded as sadaqah, a charitable gift. And anybody who believes in Allah and the last day should talk what is good or keep quiet, that is, abstain from all kinds of dirty and evil talks. Sahih al-Bukhari 6019 reference 78 Hadith 50. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. I said, O Allah's Messenger, I have 2 neighbors, to whom shall I send my gifts? He said, to the one whose gate is nearer to you. Sahih al-Bukhari 6020 reference 78 Hadith 51. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Habir bin Abdullah. The Prophet said, enjoining all that is good is a sadaqah. Sahih al-Bukhari 6021 reference 78 Hadith 52. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Musa al-Ash'ari. The Prophet said, on every Muslim there is enjoined a compulsory sadaqah, alms. They, the people, said, if one has nothing? He said, he should work with his hands so that he may benefit himself and give in charity. They said, if he cannot work or does not work? He said, then he should help the oppressed unhappy person, by word or action or both. They said, if he does not do it? He said, then he should enjoin what is good, or said what is reasonable. They said, if he does not do that, he said, then he should refrain from doing evil, for that will be considered for him as a sadaqah, charity. Sahih al-Bukhari 6022 reference 78 Hadith 53. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Adi bin Hatim. The Prophet mentioned the hell fire and sought refuge with Allah from it, and turned his face to the other side. He mentioned the hell fire again and took refuge with Allah from it and turned his face to the other side. Shu'bah, the sub-narrator, said, I have no doubt that the Prophet repeated it twice. The Prophet then said, O people, save yourselves from the hell fire, even if with 1/2 of a date fruit, given in charity, and if this is not available, then save yourselves by saying a good, pleasant, friendly word. Sahih al-Bukhari 6023 reference 78 Hadith 54. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha sad face. The wife of the Prophet. A group of Jews entered upon the Prophet and said, As-samu alaykum. That is, death be upon you. I understood it and said, Wa alaykum as-samu wa alan. Death and the curse of Allah be upon you. Allah's Messenger said, be calm, O Aisha. Allah loves that should be kind and lenient in all matters. I said, O Allah's Messenger, haven't you heard what they, the Jews, have said? Allah's Messenger said, I have already said to them, and upon you. Sahih al-Bukhari 6024 reference 78 Hadith 55. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. A Bedouin urinated in the mosque and the people ran to beat him. Allah's Messenger said, do not interrupt his urination, that is, let him finish. Then the Prophet asked for a tumbler of water and poured the water over the place of urine. Sahih al-Bukhari 6025 reference 78 Hadith 56. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Musa. The Prophet said, "A believer to another believer is like a building whose different parts enforce each other." The Prophet then clasped his hands with the fingers interlaced. At that time, the Prophet was sitting and a man came and begged or asked for something. The Prophet faced us and said, "Help and recommend him and you will receive the reward for it, and Allah will bring about what he will through his Prophet's tongue." Sahih al-Bukhari 6026, 6027 reference 78 Hadith 57. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Musa. Whenever a beggar or a person in need came to the Prophet would say, "Help and recommend him and you will receive the reward for it, and Allah will bring about what he will through his Prophet's tongue." Sahih al-Bukhari 6028 reference 78 Hadith 58. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Masruq. Abdullah bin Amr mentioned Allah's messenger saying that he was neither a fahish nor a mutafahish. Abdullah bin Amr added, Allah's messenger said, "The best among you are those who have the best manners and character." Sahih al-Bukhari 6029 reference 78 Hadith 59. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Abdullah bin Malaika. Aisha said that the Jews came to the Prophet and said, "As-samu alaykum. Death be on you." Aisha said to them, "Death be on you, and may Allah curse you and shower his wrath upon you." The Prophet said, "Be calm, O Aisha. You should be kind and lenient, and beware of harshness and fush, that is bad words." She said to the Prophet, "Haven't you heard what they, Jews, have said?" He said, "Haven't you heard what I have said to them? I said the same to them, and my invocation against them will be accepted while theirs against me will be rejected, by Allah." Sahih al-Bukhari 6030 reference 78 Hadith 60. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. The Prophet was not one who would abuse others, or say obscene words, or curse others. And if he wanted to admonish anyone of us, he used to say, "What is wrong with him? His forehead be dusted." Sahih al-Bukhari 6031 reference 78 Hadith 61. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. A man asked permission to enter upon the Prophet. When the Prophet saw him, he said, "What an evil brother of his tribe! And what an evil son of his tribe!" When that man sat down, the Prophet behaved with him in a nice and polite manner and was completely at ease with him. When that person had left, Aisha said to the Prophet, "O Allah's apostle, when you saw that man, you said so and so about him, then you showed him a kind and polite behavior, and you enjoyed his company?" Allah's messenger said, "O Aisha, have you ever seen me speaking a bad and dirty language? Remember that the worst people in Allah's sight on the day of resurrection will be those whom the people leave, undisturbed, to be away from their evil deeds." Sahih al-Bukhari 6032 reference 78 Hadith 62. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Anas. The Prophet was the best among the people, both in shape and character, and was the most generous of them, and was the bravest of them. Once, during the night, the people of Medina got afraid of a sound. So the people went towards that sound, but the Prophet, having gone to that sound before them, met them while he was saying, "Don't be afraid, don't be afraid." At that time, he was riding a horse belonging to Abu Talha, and it was naked without a saddle, and he was carrying a sword slung at his neck. The Prophet said, "I found it, the horse, like a sea, or, it is the sea indeed." Sahih al-Bukhari 6033 Reference 78 Hadith 63. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Habir. Never was the Prophet asked for a thing to be given for which his answer was no. Sahih al-Bukhari 6034 Reference 78 Hadith 64. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Masruq. We were sitting with Abdullah bin Amr who was narrating to us, Hadith. He said, Allah's Messenger was neither a fahish nor a mutafahish, and he used to say, the best among you or the best in character, having good manners. Sahih al-Bukhari 6035 Reference 78 Hadith 65. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Hazim. Sahl bin Sa'di said that a woman brought a burda, sheet, to the Prophet. Sahl asked the people, do you know what is a burda? The people replied, it is a shamla, a sheet with a fringe. That woman said, O Allah's Messenger, I have brought it so that you may wear it. So the Prophet took it because he was in need of it and wore it. A man among his companions, seeing him wearing it, said, O Allah's Apostle, please give it to me to wear. The Prophet said, yes, and gave him that sheet. When the Prophet left, the man was blamed by his companions who said, it was not nice on your part to ask the Prophet for it while you know that he took it because he was in need of it, and you also know that he, the Prophet, never turns down anybody's request that he might be asked for. That man said, I just wanted to have its blessings as the Prophet had put it on, so El hoped that I might be shrouded in it. Sahih al-Bukhari 6036 Reference 78 Hadith 66. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah. Allah's Messenger said, time will pass rapidly, good deeds will decrease, and miserliness will be thrown in the hearts of the people, and the harj will increase. They asked, what is the harj? He replied, it is killing, murdering, it is murdering, killing. Sahih al-Bukhari 6037 Reference 78 Hadith 67. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas. I served the Prophet for 10 years, and he never said to me, Uf, a minor harsh word denoting impatience, and never blamed me by saying, why did you do so or why didn't you do so? Sahih al-Bukhari 6038 Reference 78 Hadith 68. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Al-Aswad. I asked Aisha what did the Prophet use to do at home. She replied, he used to keep himself busy serving his family and when it was time for the prayer, he would get up for prayer. Sahih al-Bukhari 6039 Reference 78 Hadith 69. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, if Allah loves a person, he calls Gabriel saying, Allah loves so and so, O Gabriel, love him. Gabriel would love him, and then Gabriel would make an announcement among the residents of the heaven. Allah loves so and so, therefore, you should love him also. So, all the residents of the heavens would love him and then he is granted the pleasure of the people of the earth. Sahih al-Bukhari 6040 Reference 78 Hadith 70. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. The Prophet said, none will have the sweetness, delight of faith, till he loves a person and loves him only for Allah's sake, b. until it becomes dearer to him to be thrown in the fire than to revert to disbelief. Heathenism, after Allah has brought him out of it, c. until Allah and his apostle become dearer to him than anything else. Sahih al-Bukhari 6041 Reference 78 Hadith 71. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abdullah bin Zama. The Prophet forbade laughing at a person who passes wind, and said, "How does any one of you beat his wife as he beats the stallion camel, and then he may embrace, sleep with, her?" And Hisham said, "As he beats his slave." Sahih al-Bukhari 6042 Reference 78 Hadith 72. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Umar. The Prophet said at Mina, "Do you know what day is today?" They, the people, replied, "Allah and His Apostle know better." He said, "Today is 10th of Dhul-Hijjah, the sacred, forbidden, day." "Do you know what town is this town?" They, the people, replied, "Allah and His Apostle know better." He said, "This is the forbidden, sacred town, Mecca, a sanctuary." "And do you know which month is this month?" They, the people, replied, "Allah and His Apostle know better." He said, "This is the sacred, forbidden, month." He added, "Allah has made your blood, your properties and your honor sacred to one another, that is Muslims, like the sanctity of this day of yours in this month of yours, in this town of yours." See Hadith number 797, Volume 2. Sahih al-Bukhari 6043 Reference 78 Hadith 73. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abdullah. Allah's Messenger said, "Abusing a Muslim is fusuk, that is, an evil doing, and killing him is kufr, disbelief." Sahih al-Bukhari 6044 Reference 78 Hadith 74. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Dar. That he heard the Prophet saying, "If somebody accuses another of fusuk, by calling him fasik, that is a wicked person, or accuses him of kufr, such an accusation will revert to him, that is the accuser, if his companion, the accused, is innocent." Sahih al-Bukhari 6045 Reference 78 Hadith 75. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas. Allah's Messenger was neither a fahish, one who had a bad tongue, nor a sababa, one who abuses others, and he used to say while admonishing somebody, "What is wrong with him? May dust be on his forehead." Sahih al-Bukhari 6046 Reference 78 Hadith 76. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Thabit bin ad-Dahak Sad Face, who was one of the companions who gave the pledge of allegiance to the Prophet underneath the tree, Al-Hudaybiyah. Allah's Messenger said, "Whoever swears by a religion other than Islam, that is if somebody swears by saying that he is a non-Muslim, e.g., a Jew or a Christian, etc., in case he is telling a lie, he is really so if his oath is false, and a person is not bound to fulfill a vow about a thing which he does not possess. And if somebody commits suicide with anything in this world, he will be tortured with that very thing on the day of resurrection. And if somebody curses a believer, then his sin will be as if he murdered him. And whoever accuses a believer of kufr, disbelief, then it is as if he killed him." Sahih al-Bukhari 6047 Reference 78 Hadith 77. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Sulayman bin Sarad. A man from the companions of the Prophet said, "Two men abused each other in front of the Prophet, and one of them became angry, and his anger became so intense that his face became swollen and changed. The Prophet said, 'I know a word, the saying of which will cause him to relax if he does say it.' Then a man went to him and informed him of the statement of the Prophet and said, 'Seek refuge with Allah from Satan.' On that, angry man said, 'Do you find anything wrong with me?' Am I insane? Go away. Sahih al-Bukhari 6048 reference 78 Hadith 78. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Ubadah bin as-Samit. Allah's messenger went out to inform the people about the date of the night of decree, al-Qadr. There happened a quarrel between two Muslim men. The Prophet said, I came out to inform you about the night of al-Qadr, but as so-and-so and so-and-so quarreled, so the news about it had been taken away, and maybe it was better for you. So look for it in the 9th, the 7th, or the 5th, of the last 10 days of Ramadan. Sahih al-Bukhari 6049 reference 78 Hadith 79. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Marur. I saw Abu Dar wearing a bird garment, and his slave too was wearing a bird, so I said to Abu Dar, if you take this burda of your slave, and wear it, along with yours, you will have a nice suit, costume, and you may give him another garment. Abu Dar said, there was a quarrel between me and another man whose mother was a non-Arab and I called her bad names. The man mentioned, complained about me to the Prophet. The Prophet said, did you abuse so-and-so? I said, yes. He said, did you call his mother bad names? I said, yes. He said, you still have the traits of the pre-Islamic period of ignorance. I said, do I still have ignorance, even now in my old age? He said, yes, they, slaves or servants, are your brothers, and Allah has put them under your command. So the one under whose hand Allah has put his brother, should feed him of what he eats, and give him dresses of what he wears, and should not ask him to do a thing beyond his capacity. And if at all he asks him. Sahih al-Bukhari 6050 reference 78 Hadith 80. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab to do a hard task, he should help him therein. Sahih al-Bukhari 6050 reference 78 Hadith 80. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet led us in the Zuhr prayer, offering only 2 rakat and then finished it with taslim, and went to a piece of wood in front of the mosque and put his hand over it. Abu Bakr and Umar were also present among the people on that day but dared not talk to him about his unfinished prayer. And the hasty people went away, wondering, has the prayer been shortened among the people? There was a man whom the Prophet used to call Dul Yadain, the long-armed. He said, O Allah's Prophet, have you forgotten or has the prayer been shortened? The Prophet said, neither have I forgotten, nor has it been shortened. They, the people, said, surely, you have forgotten, O Allah's Messenger. The Prophet said, Dul Yadain has told the truth. So the Prophet got up and offered other 2 rakat and finished his prayer with taslim. Then he said takbir, performed a prostration of ordinary duration or longer. Then he raised his head and said takbir and performed another prostration. Sahih al-Bukhari 6051 reference 78 Hadith 81. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab of ordinary duration or longer, and then raised his head and said takbir. That is, he performed the 2 prostrations of sahu, that is, forgetfulness. Sahih al-Bukhari 6051 reference 78 Hadith 81. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Ibn Abbas. Allah's messenger passed by 2 graves and said, both of them, persons in the grave, are being tortured, and they are not being tortured for a major sin. This one used not to save himself from being soiled with his urine, and the other used to go about with calumnies among the people to rouse hostilities, e.g., one goes to a person and tells him that so-and-so says about him such and such evil things. The Prophet then asked for a green leaf of a date palm tree, split it into 2 pieces and planted one on each grave and said, "It is hoped that their punishment may be abated till those 2 pieces of the leaf get dried." See Hadith number 215, Volume 1. Sahih al-Bukhari 6052 Reference 78 Hadith 82. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Usaid as Sa'idi. The Prophet said, "The best family among the Ansar is the Banu and Najjar." Sahih al-Bukhari 6053 Reference 78 Hadith 83. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. A man asked permission to enter upon Allah's Messenger. The Prophet said, "Admit him. What an evil brother of his people or a son of his people." But when the man entered, the Prophet spoke to him in a very polite manner. And when that person left, I said, "O Allah's Messenger, you had said what you had said, yet you spoke to him in a very polite manner?" The Prophet said, "O Aisha, the worst people are those whom the people desert or leave in order to save themselves from their dirty language or from their transgression." Sahih al-Bukhari 6054 Reference 78 Hadith 84. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Abbas. Once the Prophet went through the graveyards of Medina and heard the voices of 2 humans who were being tortured in their graves. The Prophet said, "They are being punished, but they are not being punished because of a major sin, yet their sins are great. One of them used not to save himself from being soiled with the urine, and the other used to go about with calumnies, namima." Then the Prophet asked for a green palm tree leaf and split it into 2 pieces and placed 1 piece on each grave, saying, "I hope that their punishment may be abated as long as these pieces of the leaf are not dried." Sahih al-Bukhari 6055 Reference 78 Hadith 85. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Hudhayfa. I heard the Prophet saying, "A Qata will not enter paradise." Sahih al-Bukhari 6056 Reference 78 Hadith 86. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "Whoever does not give up false statements, that is telling lies, and evil deeds, and speaking bad words to others, Allah is not in need of his fasting, leaving his food and drink." Sahih al-Bukhari 6057 Reference 78 Hadith 87. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "The worst people in the sight of Allah on the day of resurrection will be the double-faced people who appear to some people with one face and to other people with another face." Sahih al-Bukhari 6058 Reference 78 Hadith 88. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Mas'ud. Once Allah's Messenger divided and distributed the war booty. An Ansar man said, "By Allah, Muhammad peace be upon him, by this distribution, did not intend to please Allah. So I came to Allah's Messenger and informed him about it, whereupon his face became changed with anger and he said, 'May Allah bestow his mercy on Moses, for he was hurt with more than this, yet he remained patient.'" Sahih al-Bukhari 6059 Reference 78 Hadith 89. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Musa. The Prophet heard a man praising another man and he was exaggerating in his praise. The Prophet said to him, "You have destroyed, or cut, the back of the man." Sahih al-Bukhari 6060 Reference 78 Hadith 90. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Bakr. A man was mentioned before the Prophet and another man praised him greatly. The Prophet said, "May Allah's mercy be on you. You have cut the neck of your friend." The Prophet repeated this sentence many times and said, "If it is indispensable for any one of you to praise someone, then he should say, 'I think that he is so and so,' if he really thinks that he is such. Allah is the one who will take his accounts, as he knows his reality, and no one can sanctify anybody before Allah." Khalid said, "Woe to you, instead of Allah's mercy be on you." Sahih al-Bukhari 6061 reference 78 Hadith 91. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, al-Adab narrated Salim, that his father said, when Allah's messenger mentioned what he mentioned about the hanging of the izar, waist sheet, Abu Bakr said, "O Allah's messenger, my izar slackens on one side, without my intention." The Prophet said, "You are not among those who, out of pride, drag their izars behind them." Sahih al-Bukhari 6062 reference 78 Hadith 92. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, al-Adab narrated Aisha. The Prophet continued for such and such period imagining that he has slept, had sexual relations, with his wives, and in fact he did not. One day he said, to me, "O Aisha, Allah has instructed me regarding a matter about which I had asked him. There came to me two men, one of them sat near my feet and the other near my head. The one near my feet asked the one near my head, pointing at me, 'What is wrong with this man?' The latter replied, 'He is under the effect of magic.' The first one asked, 'Who had worked magic on him?' The other replied, 'Lubayd bin Asam.' The first one asked, 'What material did he use?' The other replied, 'The skin of the pollen of a male date tree with a comb and the hair stuck to it, kept under a stone in the well of Darwin.' Then the Prophet went to that well and said, 'This is the same well which was shown to me in the dream. The tops of its date palm trees look like the heads of the devils, and its water looks like the henna infusion.' Then the Prophet Sahih al-Bukhari 6063 reference 78 Hadith 93. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, al-Adab ordered that those things be taken out. I said, O Allah's Messenger, won't you disclose the magic object? The Prophet said, Allah has cured me and I hate to circulate the evil among the people. Aisha added, the magician, Lubayd bin Asam was a man from Bani Zuraiq, an ally of the Jews. Sahih al-Bukhari 6063 reference 78 Hadith 93. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, beware of suspicion, for suspicion is the worst of false tales. And do not look for the other's faults and do not spy, and do not be jealous of one another, and do not desert, cut your relation with one another, and do not hate one another, and O Allah's worshippers, be brothers, as Allah has ordered you. Sahih al-Bukhari 6064 reference 78 Hadith 94. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. Allah's Messenger said, do not hate one another, and do not be jealous of one another, and do not desert each other, and O Allah's worshippers, be brothers. Lo, it is not permissible for any Muslim to desert, not talk to his brother, Muslim, for more than 3 days. Sahih al-Bukhari 6065 reference 78 Hadith 95. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, beware of suspicion, for suspicion is the worst of false tales. And do not look for the other's faults, and do not do spying on one another, and do not practice najish, and do not be jealous of one another, and do not hate one another, and do not desert. Stop talking to one another. And O, Allah's worshippers, be brothers. Sahih al-Bukhari 6066 reference 78 Hadith 96. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Aisha. The Prophet said, I do not think that so and so and so and so know anything of our religion. And al-Layth said, these two persons were among the hypocrites. Sahih al-Bukhari 6067 reference 78 Hadith 97. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab narrated al-Layth. Aisha said the Prophet entered upon me one day and said, O Aisha, I do not think that so and so and so and so know anything of our religion which we follow. Sahih al-Bukhari 6068 reference 78 Hadith 98. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. I heard Allah's Messenger saying, all the sins of my followers will be forgiven except those of the mujahirin, those who commit a sin openly or disclose their sins to the people. An example of such disclosure is that a person commits a sin at night and though Allah screens it from the public, then he comes in the morning, and says, O so and so, I did such and such evil deed yesterday, though he spent his night screened by his Lord, none knowing about his sin, and in the morning he removes Allah's screen from himself. Sahih al-Bukhari 6069 reference 78 Hadith 99. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Safwan bin Muriz. A man asked Ibn Umar, what did you hear Allah's Messenger saying regarding a najwa, secret talk between Allah and his believing worshipper on the Day of Judgment? He said, the Prophet said, one of you will come close to his Lord till he will shelter him in his screen and say, did you commit such and such sin? He will say, yes. Then Allah will say, did you commit such and such sin? He will say, yes. So Allah will make him confess all his sins, and he will say, I screened them, your sins, for you in the world, and today I forgive them for you. Sahih al-Bukhari 6070 reference 78 Hadith 100. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Haritha bin Wahb. Al-Khuzai. The Prophet said, shall I inform you about the people of paradise? They comprise every obscure, unimportant, humble person, and if he takes Allah's oath that he will do that thing, Allah will fulfill his oath by doing that. Shall I inform you about the people of the fire? They comprise every cruel, violent, proud and conceited person. Sahih al-Bukhari 6071 reference 78 Hadith 101. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab Anas bin Malik said, any of the female slaves of Medina could take hold of the hand of Allah's Messenger and take him wherever she wished. Sahih al-Bukhari 6072 reference 78 Hadith 102. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Aisha sad face, the wife of the Prophet, that she was told that Abdullah bin Az-Zubair, on hearing that she was selling or giving something as a gift, said, by Allah, if Aisha does not give up this, I will declare her incompetent to dispose of her wealth. I said, did he, Abdullah bin Az-Zubair, say so? They, people, said, yes. Aisha said, I vow to Allah that I will never speak to Ibn Az-Zubair. When this desertion lasted long, Abdullah bin Az-Zubair sought intercession with her, but she said, by Allah, I will not accept the intercession of anyone for him, and will not commit a sin by breaking my vow. When this state of affairs was prolonged on Ibn Az-Zubair, he felt it hard on him. He said to Al-Miswar bin Makrama and Abdur Rahman bin Al-Aswad bin Abu Yaghuth, who were from the tribe of Bani Zara, I beseech you, by Allah, to let me enter upon Aisha, for it is unlawful for her to vow to cut the relation with me. So al-Miswar and Abdur Rahman, wrapping their sheets around themselves. Sahih al-Bukhari 6073, 6075 reference 78 Hadith 103. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab asked Aisha's permission saying, "Peace and Allah's mercy and blessings be upon you. Shall we come in?" Aisha said, "Come in." They said, "All of us?" She said, "Yes, come in all of you," not knowing that Ibn az-Zubair was also with them. So when they entered, Ibn az-Zubair entered the screened place and got hold of Aisha and started requesting her to excuse him, and wept. Al-Miswar and Abdur Rahman also started requesting her to speak to him and to accept his repentance. They said to her, "The Prophet forbade what you know of deserting, not speaking to your Muslim brethren. For it is unlawful for any Muslim not to talk to his brother for more than 3 nights, days." So when they increased their reminding her of the superiority of having good relation with kith and kin, and of excusing others' sins, and brought her down to a critical situation, she started reminding them, and wept, saying, "I have made a vow," and the question of vow is a difficult one. They, al-Miswar and Abdur Rahman, Sahih al-Bukhari 6073, 6075 reference 78 Hadith 103. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab persisted in their appeal till she spoke with Abdullah bin az-Zubair and she manumitted 40 slaves as an expiation for her vow. Later on, whenever she remembered her vow, she used to weep so much that her veil used to become wet with her tears. Sahih al-Bukhari 6073, 6075 reference 78 Hadith 103. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. Allah's Messenger said, "Do not hate one another, nor be jealous of one another, and do not desert one another, but O Allah's worshippers, be brothers. And it is unlawful for a Muslim to desert his brother Muslim, and not to talk to him, for more than 3 nights." Sahih al-Bukhari 6076 reference 78 Hadith 104. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Allah's Messenger said, "It is not lawful for a man to desert his brother Muslim for more than 3 nights. It is unlawful for them that, when they meet, one of them turns his face away from the other, and the other turns his face from the former, and the better of the two will be the one who greets the other first." Sahih al-Bukhari 6077 reference 78 Hadith 105. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Aisha. Allah's Messenger said, "I know whether you are angry or pleased." I said, "How do you know that, Allah's Messenger?" He said, "When you are pleased, you say, 'Yes, by the Lord of Muhammad peace be upon him,' but when you are angry, you say, 'No, by the Lord of Abraham.'" I said, "Yes, I do not leave, except your name." Sahih al-Bukhari 6078 reference 78 Hadith 106. Sahih al-Bukhari, good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Aisha sad face, the wife of the Prophet. I do not remember my parents believing in any religion other than the religion of Islam, and our being visited by Allah's Messenger in the morning and in the evening. One day, while we were sitting in the house of Abu Bakr, my father, at noon, someone said, "This is Allah's Messenger coming at an hour at which he never used to visit us." Abu Bakr said, "There must be something very urgent that has brought him at this hour." The Prophet said, "I have been allowed to go out of Mecca to migrate." Sahih al-Bukhari 6079 reference 78 Hadith 107. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. Allah's Messenger visited a household among the Ansars, and he took a meal with them. When he intended to leave, he asked for a place in that house for him to pray, so a mat sprinkled with water was put and he offered prayer over it, and invoked for Allah's blessing upon them, his hosts. Sahih al-Bukhari 6080 Reference 78 Hadith 108. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abdullah. Umar saw a silken cloak over a man, for sale. So he took it to the Prophet and said, O Allah's Apostle, buy this and wear it when the delegate come to you. He said, the silk is worn by one who will have no share in the hereafter. Some time passed after this event, and then the Prophet sent a similar cloak to him. Umar brought that cloak back to the Prophet and said, you have sent this to me, and you said about a similar one what you said. The Prophet said, I have sent it to you so that you may get money by selling it. Because of this, Ibn Umar used to hate the silken markings on the garments. Sahih al-Bukhari 6081 Reference 78 Hadith 109. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas. When Abdur Rahman came to us, the Prophet established a bond of brotherhood between him and Sa'di bin Ar-Rabi. Once the Prophet said, as you, O Abdur Rahman, have married, give a wedding banquet even if with one sheep. Sahih al-Bukhari 6082 Reference 78 Hadith 110. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Asim. I said to Anas bin Malik, did it reach you that the Prophet said, there is no treaty of brotherhood in Islam? Anas said, the Prophet made a treaty of brotherhood between the Ansar and the Quraysh in my home. Sahih al-Bukhari 6083 Reference 78 Hadith 111. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. Rifa al-Karazi divorced his wife irrevocably. That is, that divorce was the final. Later on, Abdur Rahman bin Az-Zubair married her after him. She came to the Prophet and said, O Allah's Messenger, I was Rifa's wife and he divorced me thrice, and then I was married to Abdur Rahman bin Az-Zubair, who, by Allah, has nothing with him except something like this fringe, O Allah's Messenger, showing a fringe she had taken from her covering sheet. Abu Bakr was sitting with the Prophet while Khalid ibn Sa'id bin al-As was sitting at the gate of the room waiting for admission. Khalid started calling Abu Bakr, O Abu Bakr, why don't you reprove this lady from what she is openly saying before Allah's Apostle? Allah's Messenger did nothing except smiling, and then said, to the lady, perhaps you want to go back to Rifa? No, it is not possible, unless and until you enjoy the sexual relation with him, Abdur Rahman, and he enjoys the sexual relation with you. Sahih al-Bukhari 6084 Reference 78 Hadith 112. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Sa'di. Umar bin al-Khattab asked permission of Allah's Messenger to see him while some Qurayshi women were sitting with him and they were asking him to give them more financial support while raising their voices over the voice of the Prophet. When Umar asked permission to enter, all of them hurried to screen themselves. The Prophet admitted Umar and he entered, while the Prophet was smiling. Umar said, May Allah always keep you smiling, O Allah's Messenger. Let my father and mother be sacrificed for you. The Prophet said, I am astonished at these women who were with me. As soon as they heard your voice, they hastened to screen themselves. Umar said, You have more right, that they should be afraid of you, O Allah's Messenger. And then he, Umar, turned towards them and said, O enemies of your souls! You are afraid of me and not of Allah's Messenger? The women replied, Yes, for you are sterner and harsher than Allah's Messenger. Allah's Messenger said, O Ibn al-Khattab. By Sahih al-Bukhari 6085 reference 78 Hadith 113. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab him in whose hands my life is. Whenever Satan sees you taking away, he follows a way other than yours. Sahih al-Bukhari 6085 reference 78 Hadith 113. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abdullah bin Umar. When Allah Apostle was in Taif, trying to conquer it, he said to his companions, Tomorrow we will return to Medina, if Allah wills. Some of the companions of Allah's Messenger said, We will not leave till we conquer it. The Prophet said, Therefore, be ready to fight tomorrow. On the following day, they, Muslims, fought fiercely with the people of Taif, and suffered many wounds. Then Allah's Messenger said, Tomorrow we will return to Medina, if Allah wills. His companions kept quiet this time. Allah's Messenger then smiled. Sahih al-Bukhari 6086 reference 78 Hadith 114. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. A man came to the Prophet and said, I have been ruined for I have had sexual relation with my wife in Ramadan, while I was fasting. The Prophet said to him, Manumit a slave. The man said, I cannot afford that. The Prophet said, Then, fast for 2 successive months continuously. The man said, I cannot do that. The Prophet said, Then, feed 60 poor persons. The man said, I have nothing to feed them with. Then a big basket full of dates was brought to the Prophet. The Prophet said, Where is the questioner? Go and give this in charity. The man said, Shall I give this in charity to a poorer person than El? By Allah, there is no family in between these 2 mountains of Medina who are poorer than we. The Prophet then smiled till his premolar teeth became visible, and said, Then, feed your family with it. Sahih al-Bukhari 6087 reference 78 Hadith 115. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. While I was going along with Allah's Messenger who was wearing a Najrani bird sheet with a thick border, a Bedouin overtook the Prophet and pulled his rida sheet forcibly. I looked at the side of the shoulder of the Prophet and noticed that the edge of the rida had left a mark on it because of the violence of his pull. The Bedouin said, O Muhammad, peace be upon him, order for me some of Allah's property which you have. The Prophet turned towards him, smiled, and ordered that he be given something. Sahih al-Bukhari 6088 reference 78 Hadith 116. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Jarir. The Prophet did not screen himself from me, had never prevented me from entering upon him, since I embraced Islam, and whenever he saw me, he would receive me with a smile. Once I told him that I could not sit firm on horses. He stroked me on the chest with his hand, and said, O Allah, make him firm and make him a guiding and a rightly guided man. Sahih al-Bukhari 6089, 6090 reference 78 Hadith 117. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Zainab bint Salama. Sulaim said, O Allah's Messenger, verily Allah is not shy of telling you the truth. Is it essential for a woman to take a bath after she had a wet dream, nocturnal sexual discharge? He said, yes, if she notices discharge. On that Salama laughed and said, does a woman get a nocturnal sexual discharge? He said, how then does her son resemble her, his mother? Sahih al-Bukhari 6091 Reference 78 Hadith 118. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. I never saw the Prophet laughing to an extent that one could see his palate, but he always used to smile only. Sahih al-Bukhari 6092 Reference 78 Hadith 119. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas. A man came to the Prophet on a Friday while he, the Prophet, was delivering a sermon at Medina, and said, "There is lack of rain, so please invoke your Lord to bless us with the rain." The Prophet looked at the sky when no cloud could be detected. Then he invoked Allah for rain. Clouds started gathering together and it rained till the Medina valleys started flowing with water. It continued raining till the next Friday. Then that man, or some other man, stood up while the Prophet was delivering the Friday sermon, and said, "We are drowned. Please invoke your Lord to withhold it. Rain from us." The Prophet smiled and said twice or thrice, "O Allah, please let it rain round about us and not upon us." The clouds started dispersing over Medina to the right and to the left, and it rained round about Medina and not upon Medina. Allah showed them, the people, the miracle of his Prophet and his response to his invocation. Sahih al-Bukhari 6093 Reference 78 Hadith 120. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abdullah. The Prophet said, "Truthfulness leads to righteousness, and righteousness leads to paradise. And a man keeps on telling the truth until he becomes a truthful person. Falsehood leads to al-fajr, that is wickedness, evil doing, and al-fajr, wickedness, leads to the hell, fire. And a man may keep on telling lies till he is written before Allah, a liar." Sahih al-Bukhari 6094 Reference 78 Hadith 121. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah. Allah's Messenger said, "The signs of a hypocrite are three. Whenever he speaks, he tells a lie, and whenever he promises, he breaks his promise, and whenever he is entrusted, he betrays, proves to be dishonest." Sahih al-Bukhari 6095 Reference 78 Hadith 122. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Samura bin Jundub. The Prophet said, "I saw, in a dream, two men came to me." Then the Prophet narrated the story, saying, "They said, the person, the one whose cheek you saw being torn away, from the mouth to the ear, was a liar and used to tell lies, and the people would report those lies on his authority till they spread all over the world. So he will be punished like that till the day of resurrection." Sahih al-Bukhari 6096 Reference 78 Hadith 123. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Hudhayfa. From among the people, Ibn Abid greatly resembled Allah's Messenger in solemn gait and good appearance of piety and in calmness and sobriety from the time he goes out of his house till he returns to it. But we do not know how he behaves with his family when he is alone with them. Sahih al-Bukhari 6097 Reference 78 Hadith 124. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Tariq. Abdullah said, "The best talk is Allah's book, Quran. And the best guidance is the guidance of Muhammad, peace be upon him." Sahih al-Bukhari 6098 Reference 78 Hadith 125. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Musa. The Prophet said, "None is more patient than Allah against the harmful saying. He hears from the people they ascribe children to him, yet he gives them health and supplies them with provision. Sahih al-Bukhari 6099 reference 78 Hadith 126. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abdullah. The Prophet divided and distributed something as he used to do for some of his distributions. A man from the Ansar said, "By Allah, in this division the pleasure of Allah has not been intended." I said, "I will definitely tell this to the Prophet." So I went to him while he was sitting with his companions and told him of it secretly. That was hard upon the Prophet, and the color of his face changed, and he became so angry that I wished I had not told him. The Prophet then said, "Moses was harmed with more than this, yet he remained patient." Sahih al-Bukhari 6100 reference 78 Hadith 127. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Aisha. The Prophet did something and allowed his people to do it, but some people refrained from doing it. When the Prophet learned of that, he delivered a sermon, and after having sent praises to Allah, he said, "What is wrong with such people as refrain from doing a thing that I do? By Allah, I know Allah better than they, and I am more afraid of him than they." Sahih al-Bukhari 6101 reference 78 Hadith 128. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. The Prophet was more shy than a virgin in her separate room. And if he saw a thing which he disliked, we would recognize that feeling in his face. Sahih al-Bukhari 6102 reference 78 Hadith 129. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, "If a man says to his brother, 'O kafir, disbeliever,' then surely one of them is such, that is, a kafir." Sahih al-Bukhari 6103 reference 78 Hadith 130. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abdullah bin Umar. Allah's Messenger said, "If anyone says to his brother, 'O misbeliever,' then surely one of them such." Sahih al-Bukhari 6104 reference 78 Hadith 131. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Thabit bin ad-Dahak. The Prophet said, "Whoever swears by a religion other than Islam," that is, if he swears by saying that he is a non-Muslim in case he is telling a lie, then he is as he says if his oath is false, and whoever commits suicide with something will be punished with the same thing in the hell fire. And cursing a believer is like murdering him, and whoever accuses a believer of disbelief, then it is as if he had killed him. Sahih al-Bukhari 6105 reference 78 Hadith 132. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Habir bin Abdullah. Mu'ad bin Jabal used to pray with the Prophet and then go to lead his people in prayer. Once he led the people in prayer and recited Surat al-Baqarah. A man left the row of the praying people and offered light prayer separately and went away. When Mu'ad came to know about it, he said, that man, is a hypocrite." Later that man heard what Mu'ad said about him, so he came to the Prophet and said, "O Allah's Messenger, we are people who work with our own hands and irrigate our farms with our camels. Last night Mu'ad led us in the night prayer and he recited Surah al-Baqarah, so I offered my prayer separately, and because of that, he accused me of being a hypocrite." The Prophet called Mu'ad and said thrice, "O Mu'ad, you are putting the people to trials? Recite Wash Shamsi Wad Yuhaha 91. Or Sabi Isma Rabbi Ka el Allah 87, or the like. Sahih al-Bukhari 6106 reference 78 Hadith 133. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, "Whoever amongst you swears, saying by error, in his oath by Al-Lat and Al-Uzza, then he should say, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. And whoever says to his companions, come let me gamble with you, then he must give something in charity, as an expiation for such a sin." See Hadith number 645. Sahih al-Bukhari 6107 reference 78 Hadith 134. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Umar. That he found Umar bin al-Khattab in a group of people and he was swearing by his father. So Allah's Messenger called them, saying, "Verily, Allah forbids you to swear by your fathers. If one has to take an oath, he should swear by Allah or otherwise keep quiet." Sahih al-Bukhari 6108 reference 78 Hadith 135. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. The Prophet entered upon me while there was a curtain having pictures of animals in the house. His face got red with anger, and then he got hold of the curtain and tore it into pieces. The Prophet said, "Such people as paint these pictures will receive the severest punishment on the day of resurrection." Sahih al-Bukhari 6109 reference 78 Hadith 136. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Mas'ud. A man came to the Prophet and said, "I keep away from the morning prayer only because such and such person prolongs the prayer when he leads us in it." The narrator added, "I had never seen Allah's apostle more furious in giving advice than he was on that day. He said, O people, there are some among you who make others dislike good deeds, cause the others to have aversion to congregational prayers. Beware. Whoever among you leads the people in prayer should not prolong it, because among them there are the sick, the old, and the needy." See Hadith number 670, Volume 1, Sahih al-Bukhari 6110 reference 78 Hadith 137. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abdullah bin Umar. While the Prophet was praying, he saw sputum on the wall of the mosque in the direction of the Qibla, and so he scraped it off with his hand, and the sign of disgust was apparent from his face, and then said, "Whenever any one of you is in prayer, he should not spit in front of him in prayer, because Allah is in front of him." Sahih al-Bukhari 6111 reference 78 Hadith 138. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Zayd bin Khalid al-Juhani. A man asked Allah's Messenger about al-Luqata, a lost fallen purse or a thing picked up by somebody. The Prophet said, "You should announce it publicly for 1 year, and then remember and recognize the tying material of its container, and then you can spend it. If its owner came to you, then you should pay him its equivalent." The man said, "O Allah's Messenger, what about a lost sheep?" The Prophet said, "Take it because it is for you, for your brother, or for the wolf." The man again said, "O Allah's Messenger, what about a lost camel?" Allah's Messenger became very angry and furious, and his cheeks became red, or his face became red, and he said, "You have nothing to do with it, the camel, for it has its food and its water container with it till it meets its owner." Sahih al-Bukhari 6112 reference 78 Hadith 139. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Zayd bin Thabit. Allah's Messenger made a small room with a palm leaf mat. Allah's Messenger came out of his house and prayed in it. Some men came and joined him in his prayer. Then again the next night they came for the prayer, but Allah's Messenger delayed and did not come out to them. So they raised their voices and knocked the door with small stones, to draw his attention. He came out to them in a state of anger, saying, "You are still insisting on your deed, that is Taraweeh prayer in the mosque. That I thought that this prayer, Taraweeh, might become obligatory on you. So you people, offer this prayer at your homes, for the best prayer of a person is the one which he offers at home, except the compulsory, congregational, prayer." Sahih al-Bukhari 6113 reference 78 Hadith 140. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah. Allah's Messenger said, "The strong is not the one who overcomes the people by his strength, but the strong is the one who controls himself while in anger." Sahih al-Bukhari 6114 reference 78 Hadith 141. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Sulayman bin Sarad. Two men abused each other in front of the Prophet while we were sitting with him. One of the two abused his companion furiously and his face became red. The Prophet said, "I know a word, sentence, the saying of which will cause him to relax if this man says it. Only if he said, 'I seek refuge with Allah from Satan, the outcast.'" So they said to that furious man, "Don't you hear what the Prophet is saying?" He said, "I am not mad." Sahih al-Bukhari 6115 reference 78 Hadith 142. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah. A man said to the Prophet, "Advise me." The Prophet said, "Do not become angry and furious." The man asked the same again and again, and the Prophet said in each case, "Do not become angry and furious." Sahih al-Bukhari 6116 reference 78 Hadith 143. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu as-Sawar al-Adawi. Imran bin Husayn said, "The Prophet said, Haya, pious shyness from committing religious indiscretions, does not bring anything except good." Thereupon Bashir bin Kabi said, "It is written in the wisdom paper. Haya leads to solemnity. Haya leads to tranquility, peace of mind." Imran said to him, "I am narrating to you the saying of Allah's Messenger and you are speaking about your paper, wisdom book." Sahih al-Bukhari 6117 reference 78 Hadith 144. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abdullah bin Umar. The Prophet passed by a man who was admonishing his brother regarding haya, pious shyness from committing religious indiscretions, and was saying, "You are very shy, and I am afraid that might harm you." On that, Allah's Messenger said, "Leave him, for haya is a part of faith." Sahih al-Bukhari 6118 reference 78 Hadith 145. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Sa'id. The Prophet was more shy from haya, pious shyness from committing religious indiscretions, than a veiled virgin girl. See Hadith number 762, Volume 4, Sahih al-Bukhari 6119 reference 78 Hadith 146. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Mas'ud. The Prophet said, "One of the sayings of the early prophets which the people have got is, if you don't feel ashamed from haya, pious shyness from committing religious indiscretions, do whatever you like." See Hadith number 690, 691, Volume 4, Sahih al-Bukhari 6120 reference 78 Hadith 147. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Salama. Sulaim came to Allah's messenger and said, O Allah's messenger, verily, Allah does not feel shy to tell the truth. If a woman gets a nocturnal sexual discharge, has a wet dream, is it essential for her to take a bath? He replied, yes, if she notices a discharge. Sahih al-Bukhari 6121 reference 78 Hadith 148. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Ibn Umar. The Prophet said, the example of a believer is like a green tree, the leaves of which do not fall. The people said, it is such and such tree, it is such and such tree. I intended to say that it was the date palm tree, but I was a young boy and felt shy to answer. The Prophet said, it is the date palm tree. Ibn Umar added, I told that to Umar, who said, had you said it, I would have preferred it to such and such a thing. Sahih al-Bukhari 6122 reference 78 Hadith 149. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Thabit, that he heard Anas saying, a woman came to the Prophet offering herself to him in marriage, saying, have you got any interest in me? That is, would you like to marry me? Anas' daughter said, how shameless that woman was. On that Anas said, she is better than you, for she presented herself to Allah's messenger, for marriage. Sahih al-Bukhari 6123 reference 78 Hadith 150. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Musa, that when Allah's messenger sent him and Mu'ad bin Jabal to Yemen, he said to them, facilitate things for the people, treat the people in the most agreeable way, and do not make things difficult for them, and give them glad tidings, and let them not have aversion. That is to make the people hate good deeds. And you should both work in cooperation and mutual understanding, obey each other. Abu Musa said, O Allah's messenger, we are in a land in which a drink named al-bid is prepared from honey, and another drink named al-mizr is prepared from barley. On that, Allah's messenger said, all intoxicants, that is all alcoholic drinks, are prohibited. Sahih al-Bukhari 6124 reference 78 Hadith 151. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. The Prophet said, make things easy for the people, and do not make it difficult for them, and make them calm, with glad tidings, and do not repulse them. Sahih al-Bukhari 6125 reference 78 Hadith 152. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Aisha. Whenever Allah's messenger was given the choice of one of two matters, he would choose the easier of the two as long as it was not sinful to do so, but if it was sinful, he would not approach it. Allah's apostle never took revenge over anybody for his own sake, but he did only when Allah's legal bindings were outraged, in which case he would take revenge for Allah's sake. See Hadith number 760. Volume 4. Sahih al-Bukhari 6126 reference 78 Hadith 153. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated al-Azraq bin Qais. We were in the city of al-Awaz on the bank of a river which had dried up. Then Abu Barza al-Aslami came riding a horse, and he started praying and let his horse loose. The horse ran away, so Abu Barza interrupted his prayer and went after the horse till he caught it and brought it, and then he offered his prayer. There was a man amongst us who was, from the Kawari, having a different opinion. He came saying, look at this old man. He left his prayer because of a horse. On that Abu Barza came to us and said, since the time I left Allah's messenger, nobody has admonished me. My house is very far from this place, and if I had carried on praying and left my horse, I could not have reached my house till night. Then Abu Barza mentioned that he had been in the company of the Prophet, and that he had seen his leniency. Sahih al-Bukhari 6127 reference 78 Hadith 154. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. A Bedouin urinated in the mosque, and the people rushed to beat him. Allah's messenger ordered them to leave him and pour a bucket or a tumbler, full of water over the place where he has passed urine. The Prophet then said, "You have been sent to make things easy for the people, and you have not been sent to make things difficult for them." Sahih al-Bukhari 6128 reference 78 Hadith 155. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. The Prophet used to mix with us to the extent that he would say to a younger brother of mine, "O Aba Umair, what did the nughair, a kind of bird, do?" Sahih al-Bukhari 6129 reference 78 Hadith 156. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Aisha. I used to play with the dolls in the presence of the Prophet, and my girlfriends also used to play with me. When Allah's messenger used to enter my dwelling place, they used to hide themselves, but the Prophet would call them to join and play with me. The playing with the dolls and similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at that time, as she was a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty. Fath al-Bari page 143, volume 13. Sahih al-Bukhari 6130 reference 78 Hadith 157. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Aisha. A man asked permission to see the Prophet. He said, "Let him come in. What an evil man of the tribe he is." Or, "What an evil brother of the tribe he is." But when he entered, the Prophet spoke to him gently in a polite manner. I said to him, "O Allah's apostle, you have said what you have said, then you spoke to him in a very gentle and polite manner?" The Prophet said, "The worst people, in the sight of Allah, are those whom the people leave, undisturbed, to save themselves from their dirty language." Sahih al-Bukhari 6131 reference 78 Hadith 158. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abdullah bin Abu Malaika. The Prophet was given a gift of a few silken cloaks with gold buttons. He distributed them amongst some of his companions and put aside one of them for Makramah. When Makramah came, the Prophet said, "I kept this for you." Ayub, the sub-narrator, held his garment to show how the Prophet showed the cloak to Makramah, who had something unfavorable about his temper. Sahih al-Bukhari 6132 reference 78 Hadith 159. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "A believer is not stung twice by something out of one and the same hole." Sahih al-Bukhari 6133 reference 78 Hadith 160. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abdullah bin Amr. Allah's messenger entered upon me and said, "Have I not been informed that you offer prayer all the night and fast the whole day?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Do not do so. Offer prayer at night and also sleep. Fast for a few days and give up fasting for a few days, because your body has a right on you, and your eye has a right on you, and your guest has a right on you, and your wife has a right on you. I hope that you will have a long life, and it is sufficient for you to fast for 3 days a month, as the reward of a good deed is multiplied 10 times. That means, as if you fasted the whole year." I insisted on fasting more, so I was given a hard instruction. I said, "I can do more than that, fasting." The Prophet said, "Fast 3 days every week." But as I insisted on fasting more, so I was burdened. I said, I can fast more than that. The Prophet said, fast as Allah's Prophet David used to fast. I said, how was the fasting of the Prophet David? The Prophet said, 1 Sahih al-Bukhari 6134 reference 78 Hadith 161. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab half of a year. That is, he used to fast on alternate days. Sahih al-Bukhari 6134 reference 78 Hadith 161. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Shurayh al-Kabai. Allah's Messenger said, whoever believes in Allah and the Last Day, should serve his guest generously. The guest's reward is to provide him with a superior type of food for a night and a day, and a guest is to be entertained with food for 3 days, and whatever is offered beyond that, is regarded as something given in charity. And it is not lawful for a guest to stay with his host for such a long period so as to put him in a critical position. Narrated Malik. Similarly as above, 156, adding, who believes in Allah and the Last Day should talk what is good or keep quiet. That is, abstain from dirty and evil talk, and should think before uttering. Sahih al-Bukhari 6135 reference 78 Hadith 162. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, whoever believes in Allah and the Last Day, should not hurt his neighbor, and whoever believes in Allah and the Last Day, should serve his guest generously, and whoever believes in Allah and the Last Day, should speak what is good or keep silent. Sahih al-Bukhari 6136 reference 78 Hadith 163. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Uqba bin Amir. We said, O Allah's Messenger, you send us out, and it happens that we have to stay with such people as do not entertain us. What do you think about it? Allah's Messenger said to us, if you stay with some people and they entertain you as they should for a guest, except is. But if they do not do, then you should take from them the right of the guest, which they ought to give. Sahih al-Bukhari 6137 reference 78 Hadith 164. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, whoever believes in Allah and the Last Day, should serve his guest generously. And whoever believes in Allah and the Last Day, should unite the bond of kinship. That is, keep good relation with his kith and kin. And whoever believes in Allah and the Last Day, should talk what is good or keep quiet. Sahih al-Bukhari 6138 reference 78 Hadith 165. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Juhayfa. The Prophet established a bond of brotherhood between Salman and Abu Darda. Salman paid a visit to Abu ad-Darda and found ad-Darda dressed in shabby clothes and asked her why she was in that state. She replied, your brother, Abu ad-Darda, is not interested in the luxuries of this world. In the meantime, Abu ad-Darda came and prepared a meal for him, Salman, and said to him, please, eat, for I am fasting. Salman said, I am not going to eat, unless you eat. So Abu ad-Darda ate. When it was night, Abu ad-Darda got up, for the night prayer. Salman said to him, sleep, and he slept. Again Abu ad-Darda got up, for the prayer, and Salman said to him, sleep. When it was the last part of the night, Salman said to him, get up now, for the prayer. So both of them offered their prayers, and Salman said to Abu ad-Darda, your Lord has a right on you, and your soul has a right on you, and your family has a right on you. so you should give the rights of all those who have. Sahih al-Bukhari 6139 reference 78 Hadith 166. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab a right on you. Later on Abu ad-Darda visited the Prophet and mentioned that to him. The Prophet said, Salman has spoken the truth. Sahih al-Bukhari 6139 reference 78 Hadith 166. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abdur Rahman bin Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr invited a group of people and told me, look after your guests. Abu Bakr added, I am going to visit the Prophet and you should finish serving them before I return. Abdur Rahman said, so I went at once and served them with what was available at that time in the house and requested them to eat. They said, where is the owner of the house, that is, Abu Bakr? Abdur Rahman said, take your meal. They said, we will not eat till the owner of the house comes. Abdur Rahman said, accept your meal from us, for if my father comes and finds you not having taken your meal yet, we will be blamed severely by him. But they refused to take their meals. So I was sure that my father would be angry with me. When he came, I went away, to hide myself from him. He asked, what have you done about the guests? They informed him the whole story. Abu Bakr called, O Abdur Rahman. I kept quiet. He then called again, O Abdur Rahman. I kept quiet and he called again. Sahih al-Bukhari 6140 reference 78 Hadith 167. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab O ignorant, boy. I beseech you by Allah, if you hear my voice, then come out. I came out and said, please ask your guests, and do not be angry with me. They said, he has told the truth, he brought the meal to us. He said, as you have been waiting for me, by Allah, I will not eat of it tonight. They said, by Allah, we will not eat of it till you eat of it. He said, I have never seen a night like this night in evil. What is wrong with you? Why don't you accept your meals of hospitality from us? He said to me, bring your meal. I brought it to him, and he put his hand in it, saying, in the name of Allah. The first state of fury was because of Satan. So Abu Bakr ate and so did his guests. Sahih al-Bukhari 6140 reference 78 Hadith 167. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abdur Rahman bin Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr came with a guest or some guests, but he stayed late at night with the Prophet, and when he came, my mother said to him, have you been detained from your guest or guests tonight? He said, haven't you served the supper to them? She replied, we presented the meal to him, or to them, but he, or they, refused to eat. Abu Bakr became angry, rebuked me and invoked Allah to cause my ears to be cut and swore not to eat of it. I hid myself, and he called me, O ignorant boy. Abu Bakr's wife swore that she would not eat of it, and so the guests or the guests swore that they would not eat of it till he ate of it. Abu Bakr said, all that happened was from Satan. So he asked for the meals and ate of it, and so did they. Whenever they took a handful of the meal grew, increased, from underneath more than that mouthful. He said to his wife, O sister of Bani Furas, what is this? She said, O pleasure of my eyes. The meal is now more than it had. Sahih al-Bukhari 6141 reference 78 Hadith 168. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab bin before we started eating, so they ate of it and sent the rest of that meal to the Prophet. It is said that the Prophet also ate of it. Sahih al-Bukhari 6141 reference 78 Hadith 168. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Rafi bin Khadij and Sal bin Abu Hathma. Abdullah bin Sal and Mahaisa bin Mas'ud went to Khaybar and they dispersed in the gardens of the date palm trees. Abdullah bin Sal was murdered. Then Abdur Rahman bin Sal, Huaisa and Mahaisa, the two sons of Mas'ud, came to the Prophet and spoke about the case of their murdered friend. Abdur Rahman, who was the youngest of them all, started talking. The Prophet said, "Let the older among you speak first." So they spoke about the case of their murdered friend. The Prophet said, "Will 50 of you take an oath whereby you will have the right to receive the blood money of your murdered man, or said, your companion?" They said, "O Allah's Messenger, the murder was a thing we did not witness." The Prophet said, "Then the Jews will release you from the oath, if 50 of them, the Jews, should take an oath to contradict your claim." They said, "O Allah's Messenger, they are disbelievers, and they will take a false oath." Then Sahih al-Bukhari 6142, 6143 reference 78 Hadith 169. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab. Allah's Messenger himself paid the blood money to them. Sahih al-Bukhari 6142, 6143 reference 78 Hadith 169. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Umar. Allah's Messenger said, "Inform me of a tree which resembles a Muslim, giving its fruits at every season by the permission of its Lord, and the leaves of which do not fall." I thought of the date palm tree, but I disliked to speak because Abu Bakr and Umar were present there. When nobody spoke, the Prophet said, "It is the date palm tree. When I came out with my father, I said, 'O father.' It came to my mind that it was the date palm tree." He said, "What prevented you from saying it? Had you said it, it would have been more dearer to me than such and such a thing, fortune." I said, "Nothing prevented me but the fact that neither you nor Abu Bakr spoke, so I disliked to speak in your presence." Sahih al-Bukhari 6144 reference 78 Hadith 170. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Ubay bin Ka'b. Allah's Messenger said, "Some poetry contains wisdom." Sahih al-Bukhari 6145 reference 78 Hadith 171. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Jundub. While the Prophet was walking, a stone hit his foot and stumbled and his toe was injured. He then, quoting a poetic verse, said, "You are not more than a toe which has been bathed in blood in Allah's cause." Sahih al-Bukhari 6146 reference 78 Hadith 172. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "The most true words said by a poet were the words of Labid. He said, 'That is verily, everything except Allah is perishable,' and Umayyah bin Abi as-Salt was about to embrace Islam." Sahih al-Bukhari 6147 reference 78 Hadith 173. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Salama bin al-Aqwa. We went out with Allah's Messenger to Khaybar and we traveled during the night. A man amongst the people said to Amir bin al-Aqwa, "Won't you let us hear your poetry?" Amir was a poet, and so he got down and started chanting Huda, reciting for the people poetry that keep pace with the camel's footsteps, saying, "O Allah, without you we would not have been guided on the right path, neither would we have given in charity, nor would we have prayed. So please forgive us what we have committed. Let all of us be sacrificed for your cause, and when we meet our enemy, make our feet firm and bestow peace and calmness on us, and if they our enemy, will call us towards an unjust thing we will refuse. The infidels have made a hue and cry to ask others' help against us. Allah's messenger said, "Who is that driver of the camels?" They said, "He is Emir bin al-Aqwa." He said, "May Allah bestow His mercy on him." A man among the people said, "Has martyrdom been granted to him?" O Allah's Sahih al-Bukhari 6148 reference 78 Hadith 174. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab Prophet. Would that you let us enjoy his company longer. We reached the people of Khaybar and besieged them till we were stricken with severe hunger, but Allah helped the Muslims conquer Khaybar. In the evening of its conquest the people made many fires. Allah's messenger asked, "What are those fires? For what are you making fires?" They said, "For cooking meat." He asked, "What kind of meat?" They said, "Donkey's meat." Allah's messenger said, "Throw away the meat and break the cooking pots." A man said, "O Allah's messenger, shall we throw away the meat and wash the cooking pots?" He said, "You can do that too." When the army files aligned in rows for the battle, Emir's sword was a short one, and while attacking a Jew with it in order to hit him, the sharp edge of the sword turned back and hit Emir's knee and caused him to die. When the Muslims returned from the battle, Salama said, "Allah's messenger saw me pale and said, 'What is wrong with you?' I said, 'Let my parents be sacrificed for you.'" The Sahih al-Bukhari 6148 reference 78 Hadith 174. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. People claim that all the deeds of Emir have been annulled. The Prophet asked, "Who said so?" I replied, "So and so and so and so," and you said bin al-Hudair al-Ansari said, "Whoever says so is telling a lie. Verily, Emir will have double reward." While speaking, the Prophet put two of his fingers together to indicate that, and added, "He was really a hard-working man and a mujahid, devout fighter in Allah's cause, and rarely have there lived in it, that is, Medina or the battlefield, an Arab like him." Sahih al-Bukhari 6148 reference 78 Hadith 174. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Anas bin Malik. The Prophet came to some of his wives, among whom there was Sulaim, and said, "May Allah be merciful to you, O Anjasha. Drive the camels slowly, as they are carrying glass vessels." Abu Kalaba said, "The Prophet said a sentence, that is the above metaphor, which, had any one of you said it, you would have admonished him for it." Sahih al-Bukhari 6149 reference 78 Hadith 175. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Aisha. Hassan bin Thabit asked the permission of Allah's messenger to lampoon the pagans, in verse. Allah's apostle said, "What about my forefathers' ancestry?" Hassan said, to the Prophet, "I will take you out of them as a hare is taken out of dough." Narrated Hisham bin Urwa that his father said, "I called Hassan with bad names in front of Aisha. She said, 'Don't call him with bad names because he used to defend Allah's messenger against the pagans.'" Sahih al-Bukhari 6150 reference 78 Hadith 176. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated al-Haytham bin Abu Sinan that he heard Abu Huraira in his narration, mentioning that the Prophet said, "A Muslim brother of yours who does not say dirty words." And by that he meant Ibn Rawaha, said, in verse, "We have Allah's messenger with us who recites the Holy Quran in the early morning time. He gave us guidance and light while we were blind and astray, so our hearts are sure that whatever he says will certainly happen. He does not touch his bed at night, being busy in worshipping Allah while the pagans are sound asleep in their beds. Sahih al-Bukhari 6151 reference 78 Hadith 177. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Salama bin Abdur Rahman bin Auf that he heard Hassan bin Thabit al-Ansari asking the witness of Abu Huraira, saying, O Abu Huraira, I beseech you by Allah, to tell me, did you hear Allah's Messenger saying, O Hassan? Reply on behalf of Allah's Messenger, O Allah, support him, Hassan, with the Holy Spirit, Gabriel. Abu Huraira said, Yes. Sahih al-Bukhari 6152 reference 78 Hadith 178. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated al-Bara. The Prophet said to Hassan, lampoon them, the pagans, in verse, and Gabriel is with you. Sahih al-Bukhari 6153 reference 78 Hadith 179. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Ibn Umar. The Prophet said, it is better for a man to fill the inside of his body with pus than to fill it with poetry. Sahih al-Bukhari 6154 reference 78 Hadith 180. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, it is better for any one of you that the inside of his body be filled with pus which may consume his body, than it be filled with poetry. Sahih al-Bukhari 6155 reference 78 Hadith 181. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Aisha. Allah, the brother of Abu al-Kay, asked my permission to enter after the verses of al-Hijab. Veiling the ladies, was revealed, and I said, by Allah, I will not admit him unless I take permission of Allah's apostle, for it was not the brother of al-Kay who had suckled me, but it was the wife of al-Kay, who had suckled me. Then Allah's Messenger entered upon me, and I said, O Allah's Messenger, the man has not nursed me but his wife has nursed me. He said, admit him because he is your uncle, not from blood relation, but because you have been nursed by his wife, Taribat Yaminuki. Urwa said, because of this reason, Aisha used to say, foster suckling relations render all those things, marriages etc., illegal which are illegal because of the corresponding blood relations. See Hadith number 36, Volume 7, Sahih al-Bukhari 6156 reference 78 Hadith 182. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Aisha. The Prophet intended to return home after the performance of the Hajj, and he saw Safiya standing at the entrance of her tent, depressed and sad because she got her menses. The Prophet said, Akra halka, an expression used in the Quraysh dialect, you will detain us. The Prophet then asked her, did you perform the Tawaf al-Ifada on the day of sacrifice, 10th of Dhul Hijjah? She said, yes. The Prophet said, then you can leave with us. Sahih al-Bukhari 6157 reference 78 Hadith 183. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Hani sad face. The daughter of Abu Talib. I visited Allah's Messenger in the year of the conquest of Mecca and found him taking a bath, and his daughter, Fatima, was screening him. When I greeted him, he said, who is it? I replied, I am Hani, the daughter of Abu Talib. He said, welcome, O Hani. When the Prophet had finished his bath, he stood up and offered 8 rakat of prayer while he was wrapped in a single garment. When he had finished his prayer, I said, O Allah's Messenger, my maternal brother assumes, or claims, that he will murder some man whom I have given shelter, that is, so-and-so bin Hubayra. Allah's messenger said, O Hani, we shelter him whom you have sheltered. Hani added, that happened in the forenoon. Sahih al-Bukhari 6158 reference 78 Hadith 184. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Anas. The Prophet saw a man driving a badana, a camel for sacrifice, and said to him, Ride it. The man said, It is a bandana. The Prophet said, Ride on it. The man said, It is a bandana. The Prophet said, Ride on it, woe to you. Sahih al-Bukhari 6159 reference 78 Hadith 185. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's messenger saw a man driving a badana, a camel for sacrifice, and said to him, Ride on it. The man said, O Allah's messenger, it is a bandana. The Prophet said, Ride on it, woe to you. On the second or third time. Sahih al-Bukhari 6160 reference 78 Hadith 186. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. Allah's messenger was on a journey and he had a black slave called Anjasha, and he was driving the camels, very fast, and there were women riding on those camels. Allah's messenger said, Waihaka, may Allah be merciful to you, O Anjasha. Drive slowly, the camels, with the glass vessels, women. Sahih al-Bukhari 6161 reference 78 Hadith 187. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Bakr. A man praised another man in front of the Prophet. The Prophet said thrice, Wailaka, woe on you. You have cut the neck of your brother. The Prophet added, If it is indispensable for any one of you to praise a person, then he should say, I think that such and such person is so and so, and Allah is the one who will take his accounts, as he knows his reality, and none can sanctify anybody before Allah, and that only if he knows well about that person. Sahih al-Bukhari 6162 reference 78 Hadith 188. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. While the Prophet was distributing war booty etc., one day, Dhul Qawasira, a man from the tribe of Bani Tamim, said, O Allah's messenger, act justly. The prophets said, Woe to you. Who else would act justly if I did not act justly? Umar said to the Prophet, Allow me to chop his neck off. The Prophet said, No, for he has companions, who are apparently so pious that, if any one of you compares his prayer with their prayer, he will consider his prayer inferior to theirs, and similarly his fasting inferior to theirs, but they will desert Islam, go out of religion, as an arrow goes through the victim's body, games etc. In which case if its nasal is examined nothing will be seen thereon, and if its nadi is examined, nothing will be seen thereon, and if its qudad is examined, nothing will be seen thereon, for the arrow has gone out too fast even for the excretions and blood to smear over it. Such people will come out at the time of difference among the Sahih al-Bukhari 6163 reference 78 Hadith 189. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Muslim people and the sign by which they will be recognized will be a man whose one of the two hands will look like the breast of a woman or a lump of flesh moving loosely. Abu Sa'id added, I testify that I heard that from the Prophet and also testify that I was with Ali when Ali fought against those people. The man described by the Prophet was searched for among the killed, and was found, and he was exactly as the Prophet had described him. See Hadith number 807, Volume 4, Sahih al-Bukhari 6163 reference 78 Hadith 189. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. A man came to Allah's Messenger and said, O Allah's Messenger, I am ruined. The Prophet said, Why Haka, may Allah be merciful to you. The man said, I have done sexual intercourse with my wife while fasting in Ramadan. The Prophet said, Manumit a slave. The man said, I cannot afford that. The Prophet said, Then fast for 2 successive months. The man said, I have no power to do so. The Prophet said, Then feed 60 poor persons. The man said, I have nothing to feed 60 persons. Later a basket full of dates were brought to the Prophet and he said, to the man, Take it and give it in charity. The man said, O Allah's Messenger, shall I give it to people other than my family? By him in whose hand my life is, there is nobody poorer than me in the whole city of Medina. The Prophet smiled till his premolar teeth became visible, and said, Take it. As Zuhri said, that the Prophet said, Wailaka. Sahih al-Bukhari 6164 reference 78 Hadith 190. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. A Bedouin said, O Allah's Messenger, inform me about the emigration. The Prophet said, Why Haka, may Allah be merciful to you. The question of emigration is a difficult one. Have you got some camels? The Bedouin said, Yes. The Prophet said, Do you pay their zakat? He said, Yes. The Prophet said, Go on doing like this from beyond the seas, for Allah will not let your deeds go in vain. Sahih al-Bukhari 6165 reference 78 Hadith 191. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Ibn Umar. The Prophet said, Wailakam. Woe to you. Or Waihakam. May Allah be merciful to you. Shu Ba is not sure as to which was the right word. Do not become disbelievers after me by cutting the necks of one another. Sahih al-Bukhari 6166 reference 78 Hadith 192. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Anas. A Bedouin came to the Prophet and said, O Allah's Messenger, when will the hour be established? The Prophet said, Wailaka, woe to you. What have you prepared for it? The Bedouin said, I have not prepared anything for it, except that I love Allah and His apostle. The Prophet said, You will be with those whom you love. We, the companions of the Prophet, said, And will we too be so? The Prophet said, Yes. So we became very glad on that day. In the meantime, a slave of al-Mughira passed by, and he was of the same age as I was. The Prophet said, If this slave should live long, he will not reach the geriatric old age, but the hour will be established. Sahih al-Bukhari 6167 reference 78 Hadith 193. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abdullah. The Prophet said, Everyone will be with those whom he loves. Sahih al-Bukhari 6168 reference 78 Hadith 194. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abdullah bin Mas'ud. A man came to Allah's Messenger and said, O Allah's Messenger, what do you say about a man who loves some people but cannot catch up with their good deeds? Allah's Messenger said, Everyone will be with those whom he loves. Sahih al-Bukhari 6169 reference 78 Hadith 195. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab narrated Abu Musa. It was said to the Prophet, "A man may love some people but he cannot catch up with their good deeds." The Prophet said, "Everyone will be with those whom he loves." Sahih al-Bukhari 6170 reference 78 Hadith 196. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. A man asked the Prophet, "When will the hour be established, O Allah's Messenger?" The Prophet said, "What have you prepared for it?" The man said, "I haven't prepared for it much of prayers or fast or alms, but I love Allah and His Apostle." The Prophet said, "You will be with those whom you love." Sahih al-Bukhari 6171 reference 78 Hadith 197. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Abbas. Allah's Messenger said to Ibn Sayyad, "I have hidden something for you in my mind." "What is it?" He said, "Add duck." The Prophet said, "Iksa." Sahih al-Bukhari 6172 reference 78 Hadith 198. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abdullah bin Umar. Umar bin al-Khattab set out with Allah's Messenger and a group of his companions to Ibn Sayyad. They found him playing with the boys in the fort or near the hillocks of Bani Magala. Ibn Sayyad was nearing his puberty at that time, and he did not notice the arrival of the Prophet till Allah's Apostle stroked him on the back with his hand and said, "Do you testify that I am Allah's Messenger?" Ibn Sayyad looked at him and said, "I testify that you are the apostle of the unlettered ones, illiterates." Then Ibn Sayyad said to the prophets, "Do you testify that I am Allah's Messenger?" The Prophet denied that, saying, "I believe in Allah and all His apostles," and then said to Ibn Sayyad, "What do you see?" Ibn Sayyad said, "True people and liars visit me." The Prophet said, "You have been confused as to this matter." Allah's Messenger added, "I have kept something for you, in my mind." Ibn Sayyad said, "Add duck." The Prophet said, "Iksa. You should be ashamed. For you can Sahih al-Bukhari 6173. 6175 reference 78 Hadith 199. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab not cross your limits. Umar said, "O Allah's Messenger, allow me to chop off H's neck." Allah's Apostle said to Umar, "Should this person be him, that is Ad-Dajjal, then you cannot overpower him, and should he be someone else, then it will be no use your killing him." Abdullah bin Umar added, "Later on Allah's Messenger and Ubay bin Kabi al-Ansari, once again, went to the garden in which Ibn Sayyad was present. When Allah's Messenger entered the garden, he started hiding behind the trunks of the date palms intending to hear something from Ibn Sayyad before the latter could see him. Ibn Sayyad was lying on his bed, covered with a velvet sheet from where his murmur were heard. Ibn Sayyad's mother saw the Prophet and said, "O Saf," the nickname of Ibn Sayyad. "Here is Muhammad, peace be upon him." Ibn Sayyad stopped his murmuring. The Prophet said, "If his mother had kept quiet, then I would have learnt more about him." Abdullah added, Allah's Messenger stood up before the people, delivering Sahih al-Bukhari 6173, 6175 reference 78 Hadith 199. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab a sermon, and after praising and glorifying Allah as He deserved, He mentioned the Ad-Dajjal saying, "I warn you against him, and there has been no prophet but warned his followers against him. Noah warned his followers against him, but I am telling you about him, something which no prophet has told his people of, and that is, know that he is blind in one eye whereas Allah is not so." Sahih al-Bukhari 6173, 6175 reference 78 Hadith 199. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Abbas. When the delegation of Abdul Qais came to the Prophet, he said, "Welcome, O the delegation who have come. Neither you will have disgrace, nor you will regret." They said, "O Allah's Messenger, we are a group from the tribe of Ar Rabi'a, and between you and us there is the tribe of Mudar, and we cannot come to you except in the sacred months. So please order us to do something good, religious deeds, so that we may enter paradise by doing that, and also that we may order our people who are behind us, whom we have left behind at home, to follow it." He said, 4 and 4. Offer prayers perfectly, pay the zakat, obligatory charity, fast the month of Ramadan, and give 1/5 of the war booty, in Allah's cause. And do not drink in containers called Ad-Duba, Al-Hantam, and Nakir and Al-Muzafat. Sahih al-Bukhari 6176 reference 78 Hadith 200. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Umar. The Prophet said, "For every betrayer, perfidious person, a flag will be raised on the day of resurrection, and it will be announced, publicly. This is the betrayal, perfidy, of so-and-so, the son of so-and-so." Sahih al-Bukhari 6177 reference 78 Hadith 201. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Umar. Allah's Messenger said, "A flag will be fixed on the day of resurrection for every betrayer, and it will be announced, publicly in front of everybody. This is the betrayal, perfidy, so-and-so, the son of so-and-so." Sahih al-Bukhari 6178 reference 78 Hadith 202. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. The Prophet said, "None of you should say Kabuthat nafsi, but he is recommended to say Lakazat nafsi." Sahih al-Bukhari 6179 reference 78 Hadith 203. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Sal. The Prophet said, "None of you should say Kabuthat nafsi, but he is recommended to say Lakazat nafsi." See Hadith number 202. Sahih al-Bukhari 6180 reference 78 Hadith 204. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, Allah said, "The offspring of Adam abuse the dar, time, and I am the dar. In my hands are the night and the day." Exclamation mark. Sahih al-Bukhari 6181 reference 78 Hadith 205. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "Don't call the grapes al-Karm, and don't say Kabat ad-Dari, for Allah is the Dar." See Hadith number 202. Sahih al-Bukhari 6182 reference 78 Hadith 206. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Allah's Messenger said, "They say al-Karm, the generous, and in fact al-Karm is the heart of a believer." Sahih al-Bukhari 6183 reference 78 Hadith 207. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Ali. I never heard Allah's Messenger saying, "Let my father and mother be sacrificed for you," except for Sa'di bin Abi Waqqas. I heard him saying, "Throw arrows. Let my father and mother be sacrificed for you." The sub-narrator added, "I think that was in the Battle of Uhud." Sahih al-Bukhari 6184 reference 78 Hadith 208. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik, that he and Abu Talha were coming in the company of the Prophet, towards Medina, while Safiya, the Prophet's wife, was riding behind him on his she-camel. After they had covered a portion of the way, suddenly the foot of the she-camel slipped and both the Prophet and the woman, that is, his wife, Safiya, fell down. Abu Talha jumped quickly off his camel and came to the Prophet, saying, "O Allah's Messenger, let Allah sacrifice me for you. Have you received any injury?" The Prophet said, "No, but take care of the woman, my wife." Abu Talha covered his face with his garment and went towards her and threw his garment over her. Then the woman got up and Abu Talha prepared their she-camel, by tightening its saddle, etc., and both of them, the Prophet and Safiya, mounted it. Then all of them proceeded, and when they approached near Medina, or saw Medina, the Prophet said, "Aibun, Taiban, Abidan, Li Rabbina Hamidan. We are coming back to Medina with repentance, worshipping." Sahih al-Bukhari 6185, reference 78, Hadith 209. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab, our Lord, and celebrating his, our Lord's, praises. The Prophet continued repeating these words till he entered the city of Medina. Sahih al-Bukhari 6185, reference 78, Hadith 209. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Habir. A boy was born for a man among us, and the man named him Al-Qasim. We said to him, "We will not call you Abu al-Qasim, nor will we respect you for that." The Prophet was informed about that, and he said, "Name your son Abdur Rahman." Sahih al-Bukhari 6186, reference 78, Hadith 210. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Jabi. A man among us begot a boy whom he named Al-Qasim. The people said, "We will not call him, that is, the father, by that kunya, Abu al-Qasim, till we ask the Prophet about it." The Prophet said, "Name yourselves by my name, but do not call yourselves by my kunya." Sahih al-Bukhari 6187, reference 78, Hadith 211. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Abu al-Qasim, the Prophet, said, "Name yourselves by my name, but do not call yourselves by my kunya." Sahih al-Bukhari 6188, reference 78, Hadith 212. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Habir bin Abdullah. A man among us begot a boy whom he named Al-Qasim. The people said to him, "We will not call you Abu al-Qasim, nor will we please you by calling you so." The man came to the Prophet and mentioned that to him. The Prophet said to him, "Name your son Abdur Rahman." Sahih al-Bukhari 6189, reference 78, Hadith 213. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Al-Musayyab, that his father, Hazan bin Wahb, went to the Prophet and the Prophet asked him, "What is your name?" He replied, "My name is Hazan." The Prophet said, "You are Saul." Hazan said, "I will not change the name with which my father has named me." Ibn al-Musayyab added, "We have had roughness in character ever since." Narrated al-Musayyab, on the authority of his father similarly as above, that is, 209. Sahih al-Bukhari 6190, reference 78, Hadith 214. Sahih al-Bukhari, Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Saul. When al-Mundir bin Abu Usaid was born, he was brought to the Prophet, who placed him on his thigh. While Abu Usaid was sitting there, the Prophet was busy with something in his hands, so Abu Usaid told someone to take his son from the thigh of the Prophet. When the Prophet finished his job, with which he was busy, he said, "Where is the boy?" Abu Usaid replied, "We have sent him home." The Prophet said, "What is his name?" Abu Usaid said, "His name is so and so." The Prophet said, "No, his name is Al-Mundir." So he called him Al-Mundir from that day. Sahih al-Bukhari 6191 reference 78 Hadith 215. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. Zainab's original name was Bara, but it was said by that she is giving herself the prestige of piety. So the Prophet changed her name to Zainab. Sahih al-Bukhari 6192 reference 78 Hadith 216. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Sa'id bin al-Musayyab. That when his grandfather, Hazan, visited the Prophet said to him, "What is your name?" He said, "My name is Hazan." The Prophet said, "But you are Saul." He said, "I will not change my name with which my father named me." Ibn al-Musayyab added, "So we have had roughness, in character, ever since." Sahih al-Bukhari 6193 reference 78 Hadith 217. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Ismail. I asked Abi Awfa, "Did you see Ibrahim, the son of the Prophet?" He said, "Yes, but he died in his early childhood. Had there been a prophet after Muhammad peace be upon him, then his son would have lived, but there is no prophet after him." Sahih al-Bukhari 6194 reference 78 Hadith 218. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Al-Bara. When Ibrahim, the son of the Prophet, died, Allah's Messenger said, "There is a wet nurse for him in paradise." Sahih al-Bukhari 6195 reference 78 Hadith 219. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Habir bin Abdullah al-Ansari. Allah's Messenger said, "Name yourselves after me, by my name, but do not call yourselves by my kunya. 1. For I am Al-Qasim, distributor, and I distribute among you Allah's blessings." This narration has also come on the authority of Anas that the Prophet said so. Sahih al-Bukhari 6196 reference 78 Hadith 220. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "Name yourselves after me, by my name, but do not call yourselves by my kunya, and whoever sees me in a dream, he surely sees me, for Satan cannot impersonate me, appear in my figure. And whoever intentionally ascribes something to me falsely, he will surely take his place in the hell fire." Sahih al-Bukhari 6197 reference 78 Hadith 221. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Musa. I got a son and I took him to the Prophet who named him Ibrahim, and put in his mouth the juice of a date fruit, which he himself had chewed, and invoked for Allah's blessing upon him, and then gave him back to me. He was the eldest son of Abi Musa. Sahih al-Bukhari 6198 reference 78 Hadith 222. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, Al-Adab narrated Al-Mughira bin Shuba. Solar eclipse occurred on the day of Ibrahim's death, the Prophet's son. Sahih al-Bukhari 6199 reference 78 Hadith 223. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah. When the Prophet once raised his head after bowing, in the Salat prayer, he said, O Allah, save Al-Walid bin Al-Walid and Salama bin Hisham and Ayyash bin Abu Rabia and the helpless weak believers of Makkah. O Allah, be hard on the tribe of Mudar. O Allah, send on them famine drought, years like the famine drought, years of the Prophet Yusuf, Joseph. Sahih al-Bukhari 6200 reference 78 Hadith 224. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha sad face. The wife the Prophet, Allah's Messenger said, O Aisha, this is Gabriel sending his greetings to you. I said, peace and Allah's mercy be on him. Aisha added, the Prophet used to see things which we used not to see. Sahih al-Bukhari 6201 reference 78 Hadith 225. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas. Once Sulaim was with the women who were in charge of the luggage on a journey, and Anjasa, the slave of the Prophet, was driving their camels very fast. The Prophet said, O Anjish, drive slowly the camels with the glass vessels, that is, ladies. Sahih al-Bukhari 6202 reference 78 Hadith 226. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas. The Prophet was the best of all the people in character. I had a brother called Abu Umar, who, I think, had been newly weaned. Whenever that child, was brought to the Prophet used to say, O Abu Umar. What did al-Nughair, nightingale, do? It was a nightingale with which he used to play. Sometimes the time of the prayer became due while the Prophet, was in our house. He would order that the carpet underneath him be swept and sprayed with water, and then he would stand up, for the prayer. And we would line up behind him, and he would lead us in prayer. Sahih al-Bukhari 6203 reference 78 Hadith 227. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Sahl bin Sa'di. The most beloved names to Ali was Abu Turab, and he used to be pleased when we called him by it, for none named him Abu Turab for the first time, but the Prophet. Once Ali got angry with his wife, Fatima, and went out of his house and slept near a wall in the mosque. The Prophet came searching for him, and someone said, he is there, lying near the wall. The Prophet came to him while Ali's back was covered with dust. The Prophet started removing the dust from his back, saying, Get up, O Abu Turab. Sahih al-Bukhari 6204 reference 78 Hadith 228. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah. Allah's Messenger said, the most awful name in Allah's sight on the day of resurrection will be that of a man calling himself Malik al-Amlak, the King of Kings. Sahih al-Bukhari 6205 reference 78 Hadith 229. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Hurairah. The Prophet said, the most awful, meanest name in Allah's sight. Sufyan said more than once, the most awful, meanest name in Allah's sight is that of a man calling himself King of Kings. Sufyan said, somebody else, that is other than Abu az-Zinad, a sub-narrator, says, what is meant by the King of Kings is Shahan Shah. Sahih al-Bukhari 6206 reference 78 Hadith 230. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Usama bin Zayd. that Allah's Messenger rode over a donkey covered with a fadakiyah, velvet sheet, and Usama was riding behind him. He was visiting Sa'd bin Ubadah, who was sick, in the dwelling place of Bani al-Harith bin al-Khazraj, and this incident happened before the Battle of Badr. They proceeded till they passed by a gathering in which Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul was present, and that was before Abdullah bin Ubad embraced Islam. In that gathering there were Muslims, pagan idolaters and Jews, and among the Muslims there was Abdullah bin Rawaha. When a cloud of dust raised by the movement of the animal covered that gathering, Abdullah bin Ubay covered his nose with his garment and said, "Do not cover us with dust." Allah's Messenger greeted them, stopped, dismounted and invited them to Allah, that is to embrace Islam, and recited to them the Holy Quran. On that Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul said to him, "O man, there is nothing better than what you say, if it is the truth." Sahih al-Bukhari 6207 reference 78 Hadith 231. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab, so do not trouble us with it in our gatherings, but if somebody comes to you, you can preach to him. On that Abdullah bin Rawaha said, "Yes, O Allah's Messenger. Call on us in our gathering, for we love that." So the Muslims, the pagans and the Jews started abusing one another till they were about to fight with one another. Allah's Messenger kept on quietening them till all of them became quiet, and then Allah's Messenger rode his animal and proceeded till he entered upon Sa'd bin Ubadah. Allah's Messenger said, "O Sa'd, didn't you hear what Abu Habab said?" Meaning Abdullah bin Unbar. He said so and so. Sa'd bin Ubadah said, "O Allah's Messenger, let my father be sacrificed for you. Excuse and forgive him, for, by him who revealed to you the book, Allah sent the truth which was revealed to you at the time when the people of this town had decided to crown him, Abdullah bin Ubay, as their ruler. So when Allah had prevented that with the truth he had given you, he was choked by that," and that Sahih al-Bukhari 6207 reference 78 Hadith 231. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab, caused him to behave in such an impolite manner which you had noticed. So Allah's Messenger excused him. It was the custom of Allah's Messenger and his companions to excuse the pagans and the people of the Scripture, Christians and Jews, as Allah ordered them, and they used to be patient when annoyed by them. Allah said, "You shall certainly hear much that will grieve you from those who received the Scripture before you." And from the pagans. 3.186. He also said, "Many of the people of the Scripture wish that if they could turn you away as disbelievers after you have believed." 2.109. So Allah's Messenger used to apply what Allah had ordered him by excusing them till he was allowed to fight against them. When Allah's Messenger had fought the battle of Badr and Allah killed whomever he killed among the chiefs of the infidels and the nobles of Quraysh, and Allah's Messenger and his companions had returned with victory and booty, bringing with them some of the chiefs of the infidels. Sahih al-Bukhari 6207 reference 78 Hadith 231. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab, and the nobles of the Quraysh as captives. Abdullah bin Ubay bin Salul and the pagan idolaters who were with him said, "This matter, Islam, has now brought out its face, triumphed. So give Allah's Messenger the pledge of allegiance, for embracing Islam." Then they became Muslims. Sahih al-Bukhari 6207 reference 78 Hadith 231. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab, narrated Abdullah bin al-Harith bin Nawfal. Abbas bin Abdul Muttalib said, "O Allah's Messenger, did you benefit Abu Talib with anything as he used to protect and take care of you, and used to become angry for you?" The Prophet said, "Yes, he is in a shallow place of fire. Were it not for me, he would have been in the bottommost depth of the fire. Sahih al-Bukhari 6208 reference 78 Hadith 232. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. Once the Prophet was on one of his journeys, and the driver of the camels started chanting, to let the camels go fast. The Prophet said to him, "Take care. Drive slowly with the glass vessels, O Anjasha. Wihaka. May Allah be merciful to you." Sahih al-Bukhari 6209 reference 78 Hadith 233. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas. The Prophet was on a journey and a slave named Anjasha was chanting, singing, for the camels to let them go fast, while driving. The Prophet said, "O Anjasha, drive slowly, the camels, with the glass vessels." Abu Kilaba said, by the glass vessels he meant the women, riding the camels. Sahih al-Bukhari 6210 reference 78 Hadith 234. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. The Prophet had a camel driver, called Anjasha, and he had a nice voice. The Prophet said to him, "Drive slowly, O Anjasha. Do not break the glass vessels." And Qatada said, by vessels, he meant the weak women. Sahih al-Bukhari 6211 reference 78 Hadith 235. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. There was a state of fear in Medina. Allah's Messenger rode a horse belonging to Abu Talha, in order to see the matter. The Prophet said, "We could not see anything, and we found that horse like a sea, fast in speed." Sahih al-Bukhari 6212 reference 78 Hadith 236. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Aisha. Some people asked Allah's Messenger about the four tellers. Allah's Messenger said to them, "They are nothing, that is, liars." The people said, "O Allah's Messenger, sometimes they tell something which comes out to be true." Allah's Messenger said, "That word which comes to be true is what a jinx snatches away by stealing and then pours it in the ear of his foreteller with a sound similar to the cackle of a hen, and then they add to it 100 lies." Sahih al-Bukhari 6213 reference 78 Hadith 237. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Habir bin Abdullah, that he heard Allah's Messenger saying, "Then there was a pause in the revelation of the divine inspiration to me. Then while I was walking all of a sudden I heard a voice from the sky, and I raised my sight towards the sky and saw the same angel who had visited me in the cave of Hira, sitting on a chair between the sky and the earth." Sahih al-Bukhari 6214 reference 78 Hadith 238. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Ibn Abbas. Once I stayed overnight at the house of Maimuna and the Prophet was there with her. When it was the last third of the night, or some part of the night, the Prophet got up looking towards the sky and recited, "Verily, in the creation of the heavens and the earth, and in the alternation of night and day, there are indeed signs for men of you understanding." 3.190. Sahih al-Bukhari 6215 reference 78 Hadith 239. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good Manners and Form, Al-Adab narrated Abu Musa, that he was in the company of the Prophet in one of the gardens of Medina, and in the hand of the Prophet there was a stick, and he was striking, slowly, the water and the mud with it. A man came at the gate of the garden, and asked permission to enter. The Prophet said, "Open the gate for him and give him the glad tidings of entering paradise." I went, and behold, it was Abu Bakr. So I opened the gate for him and informed him of the glad tidings of entering paradise. Then another man came and asked permission to enter. The Prophet said, "Open the gate for him and give him the glad tidings of entering paradise." Behold, it was Umar. So I opened the gate for him and gave him the glad tidings of entering paradise. Then another man came and asked permission to enter. The Prophet was sitting in a leaning posture, so he sat up and said, "Open the gate for him and give him the glad tidings of entering paradise with a calamity which will befall him or which will take place." Sahih al-Bukhari 6216 reference 78 Hadith 240. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. I went, and behold, it was Uthman. So I opened the gate for him and gave him the glad tidings of entering paradise and also informed him of what the Prophet had said, about a calamity. Uthman said, "Allah alone whose help I seek, against that calamity." Sahih al-Bukhari 6216 reference 78 Hadith 240. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Ali. We were with the Prophet in a funeral procession, and he started scraping the ground with a small stick and said, "There is none amongst you but has been assigned a place, either in paradise or in the hell fire." The people said to him, "Should we not depend upon it?" He said, "Carry on doing good deeds, for everybody will find easy such deeds as will lead him to his destined place." He then recited, "As for him who gives, in charity, and keeps his duty to Allah." 92.5. Sahih al-Bukhari 6217 reference 78 Hadith 241. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Salam Asad face. One night, the Prophet woke up and said, "Subhanallah. How many treasures have been disclosed, sent down, and how many afflictions have been descended? Who will go and wake the sleeping lady occupants up of these dwellings, for praying?" He meant by this his wives. The Prophet added, "A well-dressed person, in this world may be naked in the hereafter." Umar said, I asked the Prophet, "Have you divorced your wives?" He said, "Number." I said, "Allahu Akbar." Sahih al-Bukhari 6218 reference 78 Hadith 242. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Safiya bint Hayy, the wife of the Prophet, that she went to Allah's Messenger while he was in itikaf, staying in the mosque, during the last 10 nights of the month of Ramadan. She spoke to him for an hour, a while, at night, and then she got up to return home. The Prophet got up to accompany her, and when they reached the gate of the mosque opposite the dwelling place of Salama, the wife of the Prophet, 2 Ansari men passed by, and greeting Allah's Messenger, they quickly went ahead. Allah's Messenger said to them, "Do not be in a hurry, she is Safiya, the daughter of Hayy." They said, "Subhanallah, O Allah's Messenger, how dare we suspect you?" That was a great thing for both of them. The Prophet then said, "Satan runs in the body of Adam's son, that is man, as his blood circulates in it, and I was afraid that Satan, might insert an evil thought in your hearts." Sahih al-Bukhari 6219 reference 78 Hadith 243. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form, al-Adab. Narrated Abdullah bin Mughaffal al-Muzani. The Prophet forbade the throwing of stones, with the thumb and the index or middle finger, and said it neither hunts a game nor kills, or hurts, an enemy, but it gouges out an eye or breaks a tooth. Sahih al-Bukhari 6220 reference 78 Hadith 244. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form. Al-Adab narrated Anas bin Malik. Two men sneezed before the Prophet. The Prophet said to one of them, "May Allah bestow His mercy on you," but he did not say that to the other. On being asked, why, the Prophet said, that one praised Allah at the time of sneezing, while the other did not praise Allah. Sahih al-Bukhari 6221 reference 78 Hadith 245. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form. Al-Adab narrated Al-Bara. The Prophet ordered us to do 7 things, and forbade us from 7 other things. He ordered us to pay a visit to the sick, to follow funeral processions, to say, "May Allah be merciful to you," to a sneezer, if he says, "Praise be to Allah," to accept invitation to a wedding banquet, to return greetings, to help the oppressed, and to help others to fulfill their oaths, provided it was not sinful. And he forbade us from 7 things: to wear golden rings or golden bangles, to wear silk, cloth, dibaj, sundus and mayathir. Sahih al-Bukhari 6222 reference 78 Hadith 246. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form. Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "Allah likes sneezing and dislikes yawning. So if someone sneezes and then praises Allah, then it is obligatory on every Muslim who heard him to say, 'May Allah be merciful to you. Yarhamuka Allah.' But as regards yawning, it is from Satan, so one must try one's best to stop it. If one says ha when yawning, Satan will laugh at him." Sahih al-Bukhari 6223 reference 78 Hadith 247. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form. Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "If any one of you sneezes, he should say Alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah." And his Muslim brother or companion should say to him, Yarhamuka Allah, may Allah bestow His mercy on you. When the latter says Yarhamuka Allah, the former should say, Yadikumullah wa yusla balakum. May Allah give you guidance and improve your condition. Sahih al-Bukhari 6224 reference 78 Hadith 248. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form. Al-Adab narrated Anas. Two men sneezed before the Prophet and he said Tashmit to one of them, while he did not say Tashmit to the other. So that man said, "O Allah's Messenger, you said Tashmit to that fellow but you did not say Tashmit to me." The Prophet said, "That man praised Allah, but you did not praise Allah." Sahih al-Bukhari 6225 reference 78 Hadith 249. Sahih al-Bukhari. Good manners and form. Al-Adab narrated Abu Huraira. The Prophet said, "Allah loves sneezing but dislikes yawning. So if any one of you sneezes and then praises Allah, every Muslim who hears him praising Allah has to say Tashmit to him. But as regards yawning, it is from Satan, so if one of you yawns, he should try his best to stop it, for when any one of you yawns, Satan laughs at him." Sahih al-Bukhari 6226 reference 78 Hadith 250.